makes it easier.
Hey, stop doing that, you're weird. Yeah, I'm looking at but you're not just going to. So be quiet.
Ok, ok, está bien.
It's long. It's tea.
Yeah.
That's her.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We appreciate that very much. Welcome tonight to the April 23rd meeting of National School Districts Governing Board. I call the meeting to order. And I would like to ask Jocelyn Javier to please lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you. Would you please call roll?
Ms. Lopez,
Present.
Ms. Sarmiento,
Present.
Ms. Beltran Castañeda,
Present.
Ms. Avalos, Ms. Gates.
Present. In closed session by unanimous vote, the board voted to approve a compromise agreement and release with student in OAH case number 20250200891. The agreement resolves a dispute related to the student's special education supports and services and includes compensatory education, assessments, an IEP amendment, and attorney's fees in exchange for a waiver of claims between the parties. And now we are on item 5, and that is presentations. Item 5A, presentation by Superintendent Roundtable, Dr. Brady.
Yes, tonight I'd like to introduce our students from the Superintendent Roundtable that are here to give you a special Earth Day update. So if you're here from Roundtable, you can head on over to the podium. And the board has had several presentations from our roundtable, and tonight I think you'll be very impressed with what they're going to present with you. So I'm going to turn it over now to Mia, and she's going to kick it off. Okay, 1 minute, May. I don't know if the microphone is on.
The microphone isn't working, right?
That's not working at all?
No.
What is the possibility of having them use trustee Lopez's mic at the corner? If that's okay. Would that work? So we can all hear you.
microphone right
Yeah, you're a little more up front though. You can lift, you should be able to lift it. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Good evening, President Gates, trustees, Dr. Brady, and Executive Council. My name is Mia Yamastrada, and I represent John Otis School on the Superintendent Student Roundtable. As you know, the Superintendent Student Roundtable is a group of sixth graders who promote district take action on the global goals and model the objectives defined in a profile of a national school district learner, which you have in front of you. And tonight we have a special Earth Day update.
Pretty good.
Since 1970, April 22nd has marked the official celebration of Earth Day, a time to reflect on global movement towards a greener, more sustainable future, and to raise awareness about the importance of protecting Earth resources for future generations. This year, our roundtable has been focused on creating a new sustainable future for our schools and our community. We've been learning about the importance of environment viewerships and exploring ways we can make a positive impact. Now I'm pleased to introduce my colleague Shania from El Toyon School, who will tell you more about the unique Earth Day collaboration that we participate in.
Good evening, President Gates, trustees, Dr. Brady, and executive cabinet. My name is Shania Duffy, and I represent El Toyon School on the Superintendent Student Roundtable. On Earth Day, initiative was a global goal forum held at the Fleet Science Fair Center. The forum was a collaboration of approximately 200 sixth grade students from 4 different school districts from San Diego County, Encinitas Union School District, and Del Mar Union School District from the North County, and San Ysidro School District and National School District from South County. To make our Earth Day event impactful, each of the 4 participating districts became experts on a specific sustainable development goal. This allowed for a deeper understanding of each issue. Encinitas focused on good health and well-being, SDG 3, Del Mar on responsible consumption and production, SDG 12, San Ysidro on sustainable cities and communities, SDG 11, and National on climate action, SDG 13. Each district presented their expertise to the other students at the event, which my colleague Jason will now tell you about.
Good evening, President Gates, trustees, Dr. Brady, and executive cabinet. My name is Jason Avalos, and I will represent Central School on the Superintendent Student Roundtable. At our Earth Day event, the participating students were divided into 3 groups that rotated through 3 different learning experiences. One rotation involved exploring the fleet. Another rotation was the community forum roundtable discussion. This involved 8 to 10 tables, each with a mix of 2 students from each of the 4 districts. During this rotation, students took turns presenting their SDG focus, with each presentation lasting about 5 minutes. Each student create, um, creatively shared information about their SDGs and also collected ideas from other districts. The discussion centered about what innovative ideas students could take back and implement in their own school district. Here's a photo of us prepping for the community forum. Our third and final rotation took place in the Great Hall and was a SDG showcase designed for interactive learning. Each district hosted a science fair style table featuring an interactive element related to their sustainable development goals. At least 5 students from each district were at their table at all times to interact with visitors and explain their SDG activities. The remaining students had the opportunity to explore and interact with the engaging displays created by other districts. Here you see a photo of us preparing for the Great Hall. Now, I would like to introduce Blaine Lopez from Palmer Way School, who will present examples from these rotations.
Good evening, President Gates, Trustee Dr. Brady, Trustee Kevin. My name is Blaine Lopez and I present Palmer Way School on the Superintendent Student Roundtable. I would like to share a short video with you. Starting with the Green Ninja.
Ninja?
Now that you have seen the video, what were some of the problems you saw? And what solutions came to your mind?
Lots of lights on. Why was your thing?
Really nasty trash can that needs to be
Without the water.
Good job. Good job. Now that we have another quiz for you, for my colleagues are going to give you each a card. Who would like to read their card?
Mine says donate clothes you no longer wear instead of throwing them out. And I do that.
What should she do now? Hold up her. Is it a?
Is that good climate action or bad?
Throw trash outside your car window if you don't have a trash bin. So it's so much easier.
Use a bike instead of driving.
If I don't need this. Leave the faucet on when you're brushing your teeth.
It's all right.
plant new trees in areas that are empty.
Well done. We're Gyro to share some photos from the tree.
Good evening, President Gates, trustees, Dr. Brady, and executive cabinet. My name is Irel Dakidao, and I represent Ira Harmon School on the Superintendent Student Roundtable, and I'm excited to share some highlights from our collaborative Earth Day event. Here you can see the energy as students from all 4 districts arrived, ready to participate. We started our day together in the theater for a brief introduction and overview of the day's activities. Then we headed off to rotations. These photos capture the engaging discussions and collaborative learning that took place during the community forum roundtable sessions.
Here, you can see the interactive displays and presentations in the Great Hall, where each district showcased their sustainable development goal. A highlight for many was the opportunity to explore the Fleet Science Center, connecting our learning to real-world science. And of course, a chance to refuel and connect with new friends over a catered lunch. Finally, we wanted to share this group photo of all 200 passionate 6th grade students who came together to make our Earth Day collaboration a success. It truly demonstrates the power of working together towards a sustainable future. We are happy to answer any further questions you may have.
Any questions? I love that you brought us quizzes.
I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you for your presentation. It was amazing, and yes, I love the quiz, so appreciate that. Keeps us on our toes.
Don't go away. I have certificates for all of you and a little gift from the school board and the district. Jason Avalos. Shania Duffy. Jason up there. Darrell Tafudao. Thank you. Mia, Diana Estrada. And Blaine Lopez, last but not least. Stand over here, we're gonna get pictures.
Don't forget to hold your certificates.
Yes, it's great. Thank you, everyone.
You always think you're doing well, and then somehow or another they remind you of something that you either didn't think of or you weren't doing. The lights that you leave on, the heat that you leave on. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to add, I'm glad that you shared that with us. It was really important for us to be reminded of what we need to do at home. I gotta tell you, my electric bill was pretty high recently, and so I made it for me to be able to cut the electric bill as best that I can. So what I did was I stopped using my ceramic heater. I had a little floor heater. I had one in the bathroom, one in the bedroom, one in the family room. Stopped using them all together, and I cut my electric bill by $100. Unbelievable. So thank you for the reminder.
All right, item 5B is a presentation by Central School students, and we have our principal, Catherine Kartochville, roll call.
Good evening, President Gates, members of the board, and executive cabinet. My name is Catherine Kratofi-Rojo, and I am honored to serve as the proud principal of Central School, home of the Dolphins. Tonight, I am excited to share highlights from our first year as a community school and to showcase how integrating the 4 pillars of the community school with the NSD learner profile is helping our students grow into exceptionally prepared learners, innovative individuals, compassionate human beings, and world citizens. You'll hear directly from our students about how our community strategies are bringing these qualities to life on our school campus. This year, Central began laying the foundation to become a community school, a place where every learner is supported through meaningful partnerships, family voice, enriched learning, and focus on student well-being. Grounded in the 4 pillars of community schools, are aligned with the NSD learner profile, our approach is designed to ensure that every student has the opportunity to thrive. Together, we are creating a school community where all learners are empowered to shine. And now, I am proud to turn it over to our amazing Dolphins.
Hi, my name is Eddie Malachi. One of the best things about this year is how much our school cares about us. Not just as students, but as people. I'll be talking about Pillar 1 of community schools, integrated student supports. That means we have mental health and physical health services to support student success. We have many integrated student supports to help us successful. Some examples are that we have daily classroom community circles, a school counselor, and soon this month we'll have calming corners in every classroom, including the principal's office. And our health clinic officially opened on April 10th. Community circles help us talk about how we feel and what's going on. It also helps us build connections with others in the classroom and have empathy for one another. If someone needs extra support, we can see Ms. Cadena, our counselor. These supports help us grow to recognize our feelings, build empathy, and create a school where everyone feels safe and included. That's what it means to be a compassionate and reflective learner.
I'm Chloe Lobos. I'll be talking about Pillar 2 community schools, expanding and richer learning time and opportunities. This year at Central, we have lots of opportunities for expanding and richer learning. I'm the perfect person to talk about this pillar because I am in REACH, after school learning for math, and I joined the floating club this year. In REACH, we always start off with the work of assembly, read snack, play games, and have some attended homework. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, I attend ASL math classes. This class helps us practice our math skills, and since then, I have learned different strategies to solve problems. This class has helped me become an exceptionally prepared learner who is innovative with problem solving. My favorite after school activity is the quilting club because it is fun. I also like quilting because my grandmother quilts too, so it connects me with my family. Quilting has helped me learn from my mistakes and creatively become a better problem solver. That also makes me an innovative learner. All these opportunities help me grow and be successful every day. I'm not just getting better at schoolwork, but discovering what I love to do and gaining confidence.
Hi, I'm Isaiah, and I will be talking about Pillar 3, active family and community engagement. This means that our school is a place for our neighborhood and community to learn about the opportunities for adults and family members to be involved in our school. This year, my family attended several school events, and we loved learning new things. A community school night, there were different kinds of stations with all kinds of activities and information for families in our community. We especially loved the science experiments. One section was about electrical currents and how they work. Doing these experiments will help me to become an innovative learner and find creative solutions to problems now and in the future. It also made me curious to know more about electricity when I got home. At family art night, my family made alligators together. We learned that alligators are mythical animals with different body combinations. My alligator was a penguin with a pigeon's body. Doing this art project helped us understand more about Mexico's alligator culture. These events help us learn together and make memories. Being a part of a school that welcomes families and connects with the community makes me feel a sense of belonging at my school. These events will help us be compassionate world citizens.
Hi, I'm Orlando. I will be talking about Pillar 4, Collaborative Leadership and Practices. This pillar includes teachers, staff, parents, and community leaders working together to help our school and community. Today, I am going to share with you about my leadership opportunities at the Student Roundtable. I've learned so much about being a leader and a positive role model. This year, I hope train all students from TK to 6th grade how to do sidewalk CPR. It was powerful to help others how to learn to save lives. Learn how to save lives. Working with my principal and classmates has shown me how to use my voice to improve school. I hope younger students grow by being a role model at school. These leadership opportunities are helping me become a better communicator and an exceptionally prepared learner. This will help me in middle school and for the rest of my life. I am very fortunate to participate in these leadership activities. This year has shown us what's possible when we work together. Our community school journey is just beginning, but we've already felt the difference. At Central, we don't just come to school. We grow, lead, and shine. We are learning to be exceptionally prepared learners that will be the future world learners, leaders, and world changers. Central School really is the best place to be.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to present this evening. Please let us know if you have any questions.
That was a beautiful quilt. I want to know what happens to it after the school year's out. Do you donate it or?
So it's a student's quilt, and they take it home. They take their quilts home. It was made by a student.
Oh, that was just one of many?
One of many. We have 25 machines right now at our school. It's absolutely beautiful. And right now, students are in different stages of quilting, and that was just an example of one. The student is a 6th grader.
Okay.
Yes, come anytime to come and see. It's a beautiful site.
Yeah, okay.
I am so proud of these children from National City, and even more so to our educators who have that passion and they want to teach and to have these children go around our community and help and everything. And they are teaching our children to be someday a trustee here for our school board. I'm from National City. I was raised here in National City, right across the street from Kimball School. So they all do that. I am so proud of all of you and everything that you're learning, and hopefully you put it all to good use and do everything that's said there on the board. I'm sure you will too. Eddie Mangana? That's you. Also, and we'll have you stand over there because we're taking a picture. Yeah, just stand. Kim Villalobos. Isaias Herrera. Orlando Orozco. José Lady Javier Hosler. She's my neighbor. She was my little girl. Look at her now, where she's at. I'm so proud of you. Thank you. I almost forgot to do Any parents want to come up, take the pictures with your children?
Parents, family, central staff.
Yeah, go get your dad. Where's your mom? Where's your mom? Take pictures.
Item 5C is to recognize Nicole Bing as a National School District Shine Volunteer and Principal.
I think I have a loud enough voice, but if you would like for me to pass to the microphone, I don't know. It sounded like it was a little bit, right? My voice.
That's right. I like it. Thank you.
I love it. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. It is with great joy. Taller than I thought I would.
I need these little guys.
It is with great joy and heartfelt appreciation that we recognize Ms. Nicole Bean as Central School Volunteer of the Year. As our incredible PTA president, Ms. Bean has tirelessly dedicated her time, energy, and passion to our school. From organizing meetings and planning memorable events to leading fundraisers that directly benefits our school. Her commitment to our school community is unmatched. Rain or shine, you can find Miss Bean out front selling Dolphin Spirit gear with a smile, inviting families to join the PTA, and working to strengthen family engagement and support. Her leadership doesn't stop there. As a valued member of our school site council, Miss Bean plays an active role in making decisions that impact student learning and school-wide improvement. She is a true example of collaborative leadership, and we are proud to have her as one of the parent leaders helping shape the future of Central School. We would also like to give a special thank you to our honorary Dolphin, Noah, Miss Bean's youngest son, who is often by her side as she gives her time and support at our school. His cheerful presence reminds us that families are the heart of our school community. Tonight, we are proud to honor Ms. Nicole Bean for extraordinary contributions, unwavering support, and the positive impact she has made on our students, staff, and families. We are so grateful she's a part of the Central School team.
Your whole family's here, right?
Yes, everyone's here.
Where's Noah? It's your chance to shine. Where's that? Would you like to say a few words? She's getting Noah. She's getting Noah. Okay.
I'm not a fan of public speaking at all. At all. Thank you. That's really all I have to say. Thank you.
They want to say thank you on behalf of the school district for your dedication, for your children. You are a blessing to our community, to our school, and we're just so grateful and appreciate you so much. I'd like to present you with this, and just thank you so much for your work.
I'll sign next.
Hide your phone. I'll get a shirt from you later.
All right, item 5D is to introduce and welcome the new employees, Dr. Kevin.
I have the pleasure of introducing and welcoming our new employees. Today we have 2 present out of our 3, and I'll share about the one who wasn't able to make it afterwards. But if I call your name, if you would please come up. Our first new employee is Teresa Kelly, special day class teacher at Olivewood School. Miss Kelly has over 5 years. Oh, I'm sorry. Last one. Sorry. Thank you. Teresa Kelly has over 5 years of experience as a special education teacher. She holds a bachelor's degree in liberal studies and administrative credential from San Diego State. And I apologize, West Thomas. Thank you and welcome. Our next new employee is Jacqueline Weber Cruz, our payroll and benefits specialist. Ms. Weber Cruz has 4 years of payroll experience with the City of San Diego and an associate degree in liberal studies from Southwestern College. Welcome, Jacqueline. If you want to take the photo, and then after I'll share the last employee. Thank you. Welcome. Our last new employee is Inez Ortega, impact teacher at Las Palmas School. Ms. Ortega has more than 2 years of teaching experience, and she holds a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in liberal studies from San Diego State University. Welcome, Ms. Ortega.
Oh, I used to coach her, sorry. In 99.
All right. Thank you to everyone. This is the moment at which we start transitioning to all our business. You are absolutely welcome to stay. In fact, we would love for you to stay. We have discussions coming up tonight. And in fact, I may need to make an adjustment to our to get our agenda agendized because our 7 o'clock meeting must, according to the law, start at 7 o'clock. So if you need to go, you may go, but please, we would love for you to stay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So what I would like to do, if it's all right, is I would like to go ahead and accept the agenda so we can move forward with the adjustment of public communications being made after the agenda has been approved. And then we have one of our young people who is wanting to speak for public communications. Those of you who are also wanting to speak, we are not pushing, well, we will have to make it after the public hearing. That's just what the law says for us for tonight. But we still will make room as soon as the public hearing is done. We will have you bring your concerns and comments to the podium. All right. So I'm moving to item 7A at the moment to accept the agenda, but we have a request to pull item 12C due to a licensing issue reported with a subcontractor. So for whomever makes the motion, that is with pulling item 12C.
So moved.
Okay, so any questions? Thank you. We have a motion to accept the agenda with item 12C pulled by trustee Lopez, the second by trustee Bencourt Castaneda. Please vote. All right. Then item 6 is public communications. Public communication provides the public with an opportunity to address the board regarding an item on the agenda or other topic. Anyone wishing to address the board shall submit a request for oral communications card. Cards are available near the entrance to the boardroom and are to be submitted to the recording secretary. A member of the public who wishes to address the board on any such matter is limited to 3 minutes for one matter, up to a maximum of 5 minutes for all closed and open session matters. There shall be a limit of 20 minutes for any matter unless such time limit is waived by a majority vote of the board. Members of the public may not yield any time to other speakers. No board action can be taken. Our first speaker is Chrisley Mujica.
Good evening, school board and cabinet. Hello, my name is Chrisley Mujica, Iowa Harbison Student Council Secretary. I wanted to inform you about what me and the rest of Student Council was discussing at our March meeting. We were talking about the colors in our school uniform policy. We want to add 2 colors to our school uniform policy. Iowa Harbison Student Council and students would like you to consider adding red polo shirts and black. And here are some reasons why. First, red goes well with the colors we have currently. For example, red will go khaki pants, navy blue pants, and gray pants. Additionally, stores like JCPenney and Walmart already have red collar button shirts, so it is easy to find them with the other school uniform items. Lastly, during Red Ribbon Week, we wear red to say no to drugs and say yes to a healthy lifestyle. We can show this support every day by wearing red. Now let's talk about black. First, black, red, gray, navy blue, and white all go together. Also, almost everyone wears black on free dress days. Black is easy to find, so let's make black part of our school uniform policy. In conclusion, myself, Iowa Harbison Student Council, and students hope the school board will consider adding red polo shirts and black to our school uniform policy. Thank you for taking time to listen to our concerns.
Well, I agree with what Chrisley has said here, and that is why I have also come with a red Iowa Harbison Student Council shirt to support it. Good job.
At present, my order is Amy Hayes, Brian Clapper, Maria Miranda, Kelly Jordan. But again, we have 13 minutes and I do not want to shortchange anyone. So Amy Hayes, please.
Microphone doesn't work. You need this. Glasses on.
Or I could just talk louder. Good evening, Governing Board and Executive Cabinet. You heard from me earlier, but you get to hear from me again. We, NCETA, stand here today to address the district's refusal to engage in good faith bargaining and remind you of your responsibility under the Educational Employment Relations Act. On April 11, NCETA's president received written communication stating that the district, in conjunction with the governing board, had decided to pause negotiations until after the governor's May revise. Collective bargaining is a fundamental right guaranteed by the EERA. It is the process through which we, as educators, can advocate for the needs of our students and the conditions necessary to provide them with a quality education. When the district refuses to bargain, it is not just dismissing the requests of NCETA, it is disregarding the law, undermining our professional voice, and ultimately hindering the educational environment we strive to create for our students. It sends a message that our concerns are not valued and that our contributions as educators are not respected. NSD prides itself on 3 core values. These values have been reiterated hundreds of times and ingrained into our minds. Children first, relationships matter, and whatever it takes, with an exclamation point. Stalling negotiations demonstrates to our members that the relationship between NCETA and NSD is not valued. Settling our new contract before the start of the new year is not a priority, and our children must not really come first if you are not willing to negotiate the conditions necessary to provide them with a quality education. Later this evening, the district will propose to give all confidential and supervisory personnel a 2.82% on-schedule salary increase and make equitable contributions towards health and welfare benefits. Meanwhile, NSD could only afford a 0.75% increase for the people who work closest with the children of National City. How do you, as the governing board and executive cabinet, justify refusing to bargain due to economic concerns, while at the same time approving raises for management? We urge you to reconsider your position and return to the table ready to engage in meaningful negotiations. We are prepared to work diligently and in good faith to reach agreements that benefit our students, our educators, and our community. We can't wait.
Thank you. Mr. Clapper, Brian?
I don't need the microphone, I think I'm good. Thank you very much, President Yates, Dr. Brady, staff, board members. I just heard tonight, I'm kind of excited to see the turn in the times and the redistricting. And I'd just like to ask you a question. If I personally think this would be an ideal time to, if it's not been discussed, talk possibly about term limits. I'd like to suggest that's something that you discuss and maybe see about making that happen. But thank you for your time and good to see everyone.
Ms. Miranda, Maria Miranda.
Hello, everyone. I would like to bring up the topic of the puberty, the wonder years that was really big last year. I believe this program is still in our school district, and I'm concerned about lesson 6 for the sixth graders. There's children in here, I can't say lesson 6, part 6, and also lesson 10, the last part, I have it here highlighted, but I think that we all know what it is. I'm concerned that this is still gonna be taught. I fought hard and I got it out of Las Palmas Elementary, and I was told that option 2 deleted that section. So I don't know if it was deleted for all the schools in National City, all the elementary schools, or just Las Palmas. But I would like for the board members to review that and make sure that lesson 6, part 6 is not taught to our kids. Our parents, the Spanish speaking ones, were confused. They did not understand that they had to sign to opt out. They thought that they had to sign to opt in, kind of like what it's done with field trips. They were confused, and I know because I went and I visited the schools and I talked to the parents. The Spanish speaking parents did not understand that. Also, I'm very concerned about the safety of the children at Las Palmas Elementary. A lot of parents are coming up to me and asking me for help. And I'm sending him here to the school district, but also my concern is that the people that investigate the cases that happen are not fluent Spanish speakers, and the parents want to be heard. And I hope that here in the district, they are directed to Spanish-speaking people where they can feel that they're heard, that they're validated, that they're understood. And I hope that after investigations, that the investigation is truly an investigation that is fair. Because in my experience with my daycare child in November of 2023, that is not what happened. Everything was turned around in a different direction. It was never made justified, whatever he went through, whatever he experienced. He's no longer at this school, but now it's kind of history is repeating itself. And things are underplayed, downplayed a lot right now in Las Palmas Elementary. And it's been going on for 3 years, and I'm very concerned. And I'm going to start sending the parents here to you guys. Thank you for your time.
And Ms. Jordan, Kelly Jordan.
Good evening, board members and executive cabinet. My name is Kelly Jordan, and I'm here tonight as a parent, a teacher, and a trusted member of this magnificent community. And I'm exhausted. I'm here to try again to get one of you to understand a serious safety oversight at Las Palmas. As you already know, schools are required to review and revise emergency plans regularly and to communicate those plans to staff and students. That has not happened. Staff and students have not been notified
that in an emergency, the only viable exits are located at the front of the school. Instead, staff and students routinely practice evacuating classrooms, gathering to the back of the school. The rear gate padlocks, once part of our evacuation access, were rekeyed without notifying us. In a crisis, time matters. Exit routes matter. And those gates, which could save lives, are now inaccessible and nobody has been told. But this isn't just a policy error, it's a failure to prioritize safety. And I've raised concerns. I've participated in formal meetings which continue to result in zero urgency to fix a glaring safety hazard. And it's a simple solution. Communicate this change to everyone. As a parent, I cannot accept that time is spent to teach my child safety drills without accurate, up-to-date information. As a teacher, I can't help but overthink what would happen in case of an emergency with no rehearsed way for students to escape. And as a community member, I ask you, where is your commitment to safety? So I urge you now to review every school's safety plan, restore transparency and our trust, and give children and staff the knowledge they need to survive. Because safety is not optional, it's foundational. Thank you.
Thank you to our speakers. Thank you for bringing your concerns to us. We have 3 minutes, 2.5, until our 7 o'clock public hearing. Yes, 7 o'clock time for the public hearing. I'm going to suggest at this time that we wait for those minutes, and we will start promptly at 7 as we've been directed to do.
Staff, is there any way we could get a microphone for William? Any way we can get a microphone for the podium? Do we have? Yeah.
Brian, is there a way to get a microphone over there by chance?
I'm gonna try to look for another system. Thank you.
Is it for the recording of the meeting? Because who else is adults?
Yeah, it's the, YouTube.
Yeah. That's what I was hearing.
No, the YouTube, we have. For the YouTube, we can move that was.
All right, thank you. All right. We are going to convene our public hearing. This is actually item 9A. It is out of order. The reason it is out of order is because according to law, we must start this at 7 o'clock regardless of where we are in the rest of our meeting. So we will be returning to item 8 later, but at this point in time, we will now convene a public hearing to receive public testimony concerning proposed trustee voting area plans associated with the district's transition to a by-trustee area election system. Under California Elections Code Section 10010, the board must hold at least 2 public hearings prior to holding a public hearing to adopt a final trustee voting area plan. We'll turn this over to you.
Thank you and welcome everyone. We're finally talking about the maps. We have them prepared here today. I know we've had the 2 pre-map public hearings where we solicited feedback, but now it's going to be a little bit easier to take a look at the draft map options and hopefully members of the community can comment on what they like about the maps, what they don't like about the maps, and if they'd like us to create more scenarios. All right, so like we've talked about in the previous two meetings, we're making this transition because of the CVRA. This is a law that took effect in January of 2003, and that law prohibits the use of an at-large election system when that election system impairs the ability of a protected class to influence the outcome of an election. Now, that's a really low standard, and it's been proven to be a low bar for prospective plaintiffs to meet that standard. So we have worked with the district to begin its transition to a by-trustee area election system. A by-trustee area election system differs from an at-large election system, where the at-large election system is where trustees are elected or board members are elected at large from anywhere in the district. However, under a by-trustee area election system, the governing board member is elected from each of the designated trustee areas only by the registered voters of those particular trustee areas. And importantly, the by-trustee area election system is the only safe harbor from a CVRA claim. In this case, the district will be divided into 5 separate trustee areas. And with a total population of 56,520 people in the district, according to the census, each trustee area will be approximately 11,340. The difference between the largest and smallest trustee areas, according to the law, can be no larger than 10%. So that's 1,130 people. It's important to keep in mind that census blocks vary significantly in shape and size. So that's why the different trustee areas are going to sometimes not look like perfect squares or rectangles or shapes that we're used to. You're not allowed to divide these census blocks, so the shapes really are what they're going to be with those trustee blocks or with those census blocks. Like I said, you can't split those to make a more perfect shape. All right. I think I forgot to say I'm Brandon Lalonde with Fagan Friedman Fullfrost, and I'm legal counsel for the district assisting with the transition. And I'm joined tonight by David Cates, who is the district's demographer, who's going to talk to us about these wonderful maps.
Thank you. Just these are again reminders. We're going through this for the 3rd time, but these are not scenarios yet. This is just the demographics of your district to remind you. You see in the upper right corner there is the total of the population, just kind of what we're going to be focusing on. And this particular one shows you the breakdown of race and the percentage. Almost exactly 2/3 of the district is made up of Hispanic, Latino. And you see the different percentages. The other large class is about almost 19% Asian. And then the colored shaded blocks, The darker the color, the denser the area of the population. So that's on the left, just kind of more the general population counts and how it's distributed in your district by census block. The other thing that we look at is what is called a citizen voting age population, or CVAP. This breaking down on the chart at the upper right corner, the 37,882, that's the estimated number of voting age. It's a subset of that number you saw before. And now the breakdown, which is a little different now, of the different percentages within your district. And I think the map is still the same map, just kind of showing the density. It's actually, that's Hispanic. So that's the concentration of the Hispanic population. Remember, the darker the color, the higher the concentration or density. And this is the same chart on the right, but this map is for the Asian population. You can see, and you'll notice this when we go through some of the scenarios, the largest concentration of the Asian population is more in the, we'll call it the northeast part of the district, the upper part there. Very dense for that particular grouping. Turn this back to Brandon.
All right, so like I talked about for our last two public hearings, we were in the pre-map phase where we solicited feedback from the community, also from the board, about what they wanted to see. Now we're in the draft map scenario. So like I said, this is where the demographer has created the maps using the 2020 census data and additionally permitted data. It's important, again, something that we're going to hear throughout this presentation and throughout the next couple as well, is the population is to be as equal as practical. It should be as nearly equal in population according to the Ed Code. And again, there's that permissible up to 10% between the largest and smallest trustee areas. And that's looking at the population, not the CVAP. The criteria to consider that we all have to take into consideration when looking at these maps and preparing these maps is they must comply with the US Constitution. They must comply with the California Constitution. They must achieve population balance, meaning that each area contain nearly an equal number of inhabitants, and then also comply with the Federal Voting Rights Act. And one of the subsections of that is to determine whether it is possible to create a majority-minority district in at least one of those in this case. As we talked about with the district's demographic information, that was easy to do for the Hispanic population because the Hispanic population in this district is more than 50% already. So what we'll see when we take a look at the maps is there's at least one, but multiple majority Hispanic Latino districts based on CVAP. It wasn't possible to create that same majority Asian district. We did take a look at that, and it just wasn't possible based on where the population resides. Other criteria for consideration, the trustee areas must be contiguous. We have to take a look at local neighborhoods and communities of interest, look at city and census designated places, natural and artificial boundaries, and look at the geographical compactness of each trustee area. In this case, most of the trustee areas look pretty similar because the population is pretty evenly distributed throughout the district. We can also look at other local considerations, things that members of the public would ask us to look at, but it's important not to adopt the boundaries to favor or discriminate against any incumbent or political party. All right, taking a look at the map options that are on the next couple slides. Each map was randomly assigned a name, i.e. the first one is the grape map. There's grape, cherry, and lemon at this point. The name of each map has nothing to do with the colors of each trustee area on the map. And each map has 5 balanced trustee areas, with trustee area A being shaded in red, area B being shaded in green, area C being shaded in blue, area D is shaded in yellow, and area E is shaded in purple. And that legend will also be available online and on the maps that we present here today. All right, so I'll hand it back over.
Thank you, Brandon. Okay, so this scenario, the first one on the screen, is what we're calling the grape scenario. As he mentioned, I already double checked it too, that we're right there getting these on the map, these on your websites. Again, we have these PDFs individually as well as interactive map. as well, but you can see the color shadings on these areas on this map. The bottom left corner, I'm gonna, easier to see it on the screen here. You can see the total population counts. And we did our best, to get them all within a certain, roughly, almost equal number. But you see the population variance in yellow. That is where Brandon mentioned that if you look at the highest number and the lowest number and you combine them, in this case, it's a maximum variance of 6.92%. So as long as it's below 10%, and these all have been vetted through Brandon and his firm. So everything we're presenting to you today is complying. You could choose any of these 3 maps, or as he mentioned, give us direction to make different maps. You also see on the blue highlighted cells, that's the underlying subset of the citizen voting age population estimates. And those, you can see the numbers are less. And you can see in some cases the numbers really have some large disparity in some of the other maps. But that's not what the variance is looking at. But it's just another layer of information that you can look at. And in some cases, that might sway you to choose one scenario over another. But it's pretty self-explanatory. On the interactive map on the website, there will be a screen capture at the end. We were requested to show the outlines of your elementary zones and your school locations. They are on there. It would clutter this map a little bit too much to do it here, but you could turn them on or off, and you could zoom in really close. You could type in your address or anyone in the district so you can see which of these zones you're living within. And then again, you could see, for example, how many elementary zones touch each of these colored areas. So that's the grape, and these are the numbers behind the grape and similar ones for the other scenarios. So you can there's 5 columns, one for each of those colored areas, and then there's the overall numbers at the top, and then it breaks it down by the race breakdown. So you can see in this grape scenario, if you look at the Hispanic Latino row, that we have 4 of the 5 that are over 66%. So 4 of them are higher than the overall district-wide average. Area A is the one that's the lowest, but it's still almost 50%. So those are very high numbers. The next category we look at is Asian. And I think, I'll have to double check as we go through these. I think this is the one that had the highest of the Asian population, almost 35%. They're in one area, that's a trustee area A. And then the others, some are in the 20 or below. And then you can see the other ones there as well. So the other underlying one is the citizen voting age. And you can see at the top some of the differences up there. Some are a little more dramatic. But we highlighted in green, even within these, the very high numbers, over 50%. Asian, we're not able to get it over 50% in each scenario. But that still shows you there's 2 areas with over 23% Asian, and then the different breakdowns as well. So the same thing, we'll just quickly go through the cherry scenario. This one, you can kind of see, I'll take you a little behind the scenes when we were making these. I think in this one, we started in the upper right corner, and we try to use the freeway as a dividing point. And so that's why it stops right there. And then we went down as far as we could, and that's exactly the area that is about the number we're looking for, about 11,300. And then we kind of work from there. We use the blue area also as the freeway back of it. But for the other areas, we really couldn't do that. So it's all depending on what the density of each of these areas are. It's out of our control. But there are some very, distinct areas here. The purplish area, not quite as dense, so it's got more of a geography, a larger area that it covers. And you'll see that pattern in most all these scenarios. And then you can see this one, the max variance is a little over 5%. So it's a little tighter, they're a little than the other one, all these a little bit closer in their numbers. And then one thing you might notice, like trustee area E has a much larger number of citizen voting age population. That's the purple area compared to the others. But when you look at the total population, it's right in sync with the others.
It's something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind when we're looking at that total variance. The lower the total variance, that means the more kind of wiggle room that we have to make different variants of these maps as well. So if you like one of the maps, but you want to see a slightly different version of that map, that's also possible.
Because you can imagine this is kind of like dominoes. You move one area to one area, then it pushes one over. You gotta, so it's, you don't see all the, on these maps, the census blocks, but they're there. That's what we use, the smallest areas we have to use. So we could make lots of little adjustments, but as you can kind of see, we tried. I don't know if you would call these major roads, but use some roads, straight roads, if you will, but wasn't able to do it on every single one. So the Cherry scenario, you can see the overall variances at the top. Again, the Hispanic Latino, we have 4 areas, that are over 65%. The area A is the one that's just a tick below 50%. And this one actually was not this far, much farther below percentage of the previous great one. It's about 34%. I think the other one was about 35. So pretty similar. So these numbers-wise, these are pretty similar. And then when you look at the underlying citizen voting age, 3 Hispanic Latino areas over nearly 60% or above, and 2 of the Asian, that's 25% or above.
I think that's the same with the grape and the cherry scenarios, is 3 Hispanic areas that are above the district-wide averages, and 2 Asian areas above the district-wide averages.
And lastly, the third, the lemon scenario, the numbers are the longest variance, 7.39. It's got the largest number. Again, still room in there. You can get up to high as 10% difference, but you could also see now it's area D, which is the yellow area. It's shifted from the other maps. That has the larger citizen voting age variance to the other areas. But you can see this is kind of more, I'll call this, for lack of a better term, more of the north-south type approach to these areas, whereas others might be more east-west, kind of rectangular. And we're not using any freeways or major roads to use on this scenario. And lastly, this one, you can see again, 4 areas quite heavily, almost 65% or more Hispanic, Latino, Asian. This one's got the most spread out of the Asian. There's 3 areas of over 21%. Can you go back to the map for a moment? So those areas are the purple, on this scenario, the purple, the blue, and the red. So as I showed you on that original map, way back, the Asian population in your district is mostly in the northeast kind of corner there. So that's why those, now it's a little more evenly spread how we divided it up. And then the citizen voting age shifted a bit. Now we have 2 areas. All the areas for the Hispanic Latino are over 52%. In fact, all these are a majority. For Hispanic Latino, 2 of them over 60%. And still you see that same trend where the Asian, you have 3 that are pretty much close to about 20% or more Asian.
Right. So the difference between this map and the other 2 is the other 2 maps have 3 Hispanic populations that were above the district-wide average, and 2 Asian populations above the district-wide average, whereas this one has 2 Hispanic and 3 Asian. Something else that we also want to touch on is in each of these maps we have, and also posted online, the proposed election sequencing. So for the great map scenario, the proposed election sequencing would be area B, C, and D in 2026, and area A and E in 2028. For the cherry scenario, it would be area A, B, and D in 2026, and areas C and E in 2028. And then in the Lemon scenario, there's a little bit more flexibility. We know that Area E will be 2028, but the rest of the districts, there'll be one other one that's open in 2028, and then we'll have to choose the other three for 2026.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure thing. So with this Lemon scenario, Area E is going to be open in 2028, and there will be one other district open in 2028, and then there will be 3 areas open like the rest of the maps in 2026. It's just not selected for us. All right, moving down to final thoughts. This does not change the overall district boundaries. This does not change school attendance boundaries. It does not change how the district is governed. Each board member, I know we talked about this in the last couple of presentations, regardless of the trustee area in which they reside, still owe a fiduciary duty to the entire district. Still one district with common goals and challenges. Looking at the schedule, we're now on the first of the draft map public hearings. We have 2 more, one on May 14th and one on May 28th. And then on that May 28th board meeting, there will also be the map adoption after the public hearing. I've included a screenshot here of how to get to the interactive online map that we discussed. You go to the district's main webpage, you go to home, you go to board, you go to trustee area election transition, and then interactive online map. You select on that link and it brings you to MGT's interactive online map, where up on the board here, we've checked the Cherry scenario. So that's the same thing that we talked about with the Cherry scenario, but I've also selected the schools to show up on the map, the elementary zones, and the overall district boundaries. If you uncheck Cherry and check Lemon, it'll shift those trustee areas to what we talked about for each of the scenarios here today. And that brings us to the end of our presentation today, and we'll turn it back to the board.
Trustee Lopez.
Thank you. Just a clarifying question. Without disclosing where we all live, given that we had a recent election, wouldn't the proposed election dates depend on where we land, just to clarify? Or would we be up for election again?
Yes.
Or yes to which question?
Yes, it depends on where each of the trustees live currently. The ones that are up in 2020 and 2028, that's how we do the proposed election sequencing, is you're not allowed to cut off somebody's term that is currently on the board. So in the map scenarios where the trustees that are for 2028 live in their own scenarios, that's why it's selected for us. Let's say trustee A is a 2028 trustee. If they live in trustee area A, then that will be open in 2028 because we can't cut off that person's term. And if, for example, another trustee lives in, that's for 2028, lives in trustee area B, then that will also be locked in for 2028. It's really easy for us if those 2 2028 trustees live in different areas. It's when they live in the same area, which is the case for the Lemon scenario, that we know that the trustee area E will be open in 2028 because both trustees live in that area. And that's why there's more flexibility for the other options.
I meant to say this last time, and this is the perfect time to bring this up. Or my company as a demographer, I have no idea where any of you live. I just want to let you know that. So when we create these scenarios, we're not biased by any of that. So you know where you live, you can figure it out, but we do not. So I just want to be clear that that was not influence on any of the maps we made. Okay.
Okay, trustee Avalos.
I have a question. If 2 or 3 trustees live in the same area, how does that work? If 1 or 2 are up for election?
Yes,
Is
so
it how, do you go by how long they've been a board member, or did they just become a board member?
sure. The
Or
way
they
that it
were the
works,
first time as a board?
gotcha. The way that it works is it's the actual trustee areas that are open for election. So let's say, for example, 2 trustees live in the same trustee area. If someone's term is up in 2026, but they're living in an area that's open in 2028, they just won't be allowed to run until 2028 when their area is open. In that case, there will be a vacant area that comes open in 2026. And there could be appointments or special elections, things of that sort. But the underlying matter is if a trustee that is open in 2026, their term ends in 2026, and they live in an area that's open in 2028, they'll just have to wait until 2028 to run in that area.
I think there's a couple of trustees that live in the same area, such as Cindy and I live in the same area. Yeah, we did it. Don't you live around the corner from me? Oh, you don't anymore. Okay.
And it's important to know that the law recently passed, again, making it explicit that the demographer is not allowed to know where any of the trustees live. We're just drawing this according to the permissible data, and that's what we've done.
I do have a couple questions. So so when it comes to those addresses, how close to the election do you check our addresses?
The way that we look at it is current addresses. So I know what the addresses are because I have to make sure all of these are legally compliant. And part of that is making sure that each of the scenarios are open when they need to be. So I need to know when each of the trustees, their terms are open, and also I need to know what their addresses are. The way that election sequencing works is I look at the two trustee areas, or the two trustees that will be open in 2028, will be running in 2028, and then I look at their current addresses. Once I plot that, that's what determines which of the trustee areas will be open in 2028.
Okay, so it wouldn't matter if we decided to move and be next door neighbors,
Sure.
like coming into the election, it matters now.
So that's what matters now in terms of coming up with which of the areas are going to be open. If that changes, then I think and I can get more specific information on this. When you declare that you're going to be running, you have to file a bunch of information that includes where you live, and that might change things. But based on taking maps on which areas are open that goes to the county committee, it's based on current addresses.
Trustee Bencourt Castaneda.
Is that ethical to be moving around as we're creating these maps?
It's a good question. We have seen that certain board members move from time to time and really didn't have anything to do with what happened and with the creation of these maps. That has happened before. I'm not sure that there's an ethical concern there.
We're talking about, we're not supposed to be doing this based on our, as an incumbent, and I want to be very transparent here because that's how we're creating these maps. I just wanted to throw that out.
Yes, that's 100% accurate. And the standard is the maps can't be created in a way that discriminates or favors against an incumbent. If somebody wants to move to a different area after the fact, that's permissible. I've not seen that done very often, but it is possible.
Observation. So of the three, cherry and lemon are visually deceptive because of that massive color zone. And I understand why, but how do we articulate that for people well? I mean, the reason why is because we're talking water, we're talking the highway, we're talking we're talking the Navy. There are a lot of things out there that aren't households voting people. But how do we communicate something like that? Because like this map, it looks like your purple section has got it going on and your blue section is going to have to fight to be heard. And I know that that's not true. So how do we make it
I think it's
simple?
Sure.
Because honestly, if you're just looking at them, grape is the one that looks most equitable, but that's not, it's not so. So what do we do to help?
Sure, and I think it's always a reference back to the total population. That's why at the very beginning of the presentation and throughout, the main thing that we're looking at is equal population between the districts. Even if, let's say in this example, the purple area looks bigger than the rest, they still have the same or close to the same number of people. So, sure.
obviously, as he's mentioning, if you read the numbers in the box, that backs up that they're equal. And when you're talking about the visual, well, the only other way I can think of doing it, we can obviously do this once we're making the maps. I can just put the numbers on the map, so you can see the same numbers that are down there, boom, 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 they're all right there. There's nothing, it still says the same thing.
Yeah.
But if you're concerned about the visual aspect, we can add the numbers.
This actually is one of the most contiguous and compact maps that I've seen since I've been doing this. There's other districts that I've worked with where it's 90% of the map is all in one trustee area because you have to capture that population. And then there's 4 trustee areas that you actually have to zoom in to see. So this one actually is relatively equal in terms of visuals. But yes, I do understand what you're saying.
Well, and another thing that I noticed as well is that when you come in close to the district, 16th and 18th are, and I understand why, they are 2 main roads. The 16th and 18th are consistently used as splits, and that's like right here at the district. Again, like you said, using the highway makes sense, using 16th and 18th makes sense, but there's like, that does stick. But then at the same time, all the edges stick too, so it's just an observation. Yeah. Dr. Burke?
Yes, it's interesting for school districts to have the comparisons because with population versus voting population, because it presents a gap in how many of the constituents in that area are National School District students versus how many are National School District voters. And I don't know how much that matters to the trustees, but I just would point to that and say that there are significant differences in the maps. And in all 3 maps, you have significant gaps between those numbers. That none of them has a balance between the ages of the people living in the zones. And perhaps that's just where National City residents live. But maybe another option that would show a little more balance in those.
Sure. And something that I also want to make clear is that the population data that we've referenced is coming from the census, whereas the voting age population is coming from a different subset of data, which is an estimate from CVAP that's created estimates. It's a little bit different, but something that we've done with other districts and something that we can do here is take a look at the census data and also give some data or charts on individuals under the age of 18 or younger based on census population, if you would like to see that for each of the scenarios and trustee areas. That's something that we can do.
I just want to go to your point, about that because I would like to get a new, or to talk about that because we're talking about 2020 data and we have a significant decrease in enrollment. And so if we're talking about census data versus those who are voting, that is a significant difference. So if we can have a more accurate comparison and with the voters numbers, because the census data is going to be a significant different from now, because we see it in our numbers in terms of some of our student population already.
And one thing that I can tell you is that we are required to use the 2020 census data. That's what we have to go by. That's what the law says. But there is another process when, let's say, we adopt one of these maps or a different map. When 2020 or when 2030 census data comes out, there's a revision process that's much simpler than what we're doing here. Right now, we're just trying to get the map based on that data, and then once the 2030 census data is, there'll be some moving of the lines, shifting based on the difference in population between those 10 years.
Random question.
Sure.
Why in the world is our district boundary
In the water?
in with the mermaids?
It's a really good question. It's something that jumped out to me when I took a look at it, but based on our understanding and the boundaries that, and the census blocks, that's just the shape of the district. We can take a look at maybe seeing if there's any way to make that just more visually appealing, because there aren't gonna be any people living out in that blue area, but hopefully not. Yeah, I think that that's the actual boundary of the district, but we can take a look and see if there's any way to bring that back towards the coast.
Anything else from the dais? Trustee Lopez.
Yes, I just wanted to ask maybe our executive cabinet or you both, how can other people that aren't here physically today take a look at these maps and provide feedback into what the next round will look like?
So I'd say the best way is, I know that social media posts went out with all of the maps. I know that the maps have been posted online at the district webpage. I also know that the interactive online map is available, and that's typically when we see a lot of feedback, is when people start finding out about this interactive map where they can zoom in, they can see where they actually live, where they would be in each of the scenarios. I think publicizing and getting that word out there, that there's this cool tool online that you can use to look at the different scenarios. Sometimes people will take a look at that and think, oh, you know, I like this scenario, I don't like this scenario for these reasons, and that's typically when we get feedback.
So you are getting feedback?
We haven't yet, this is.
That was the question, how, or do they email you?
You
Do they email?
can solicit feedback, and in the online post, I believe, we asked individuals who couldn't make it to email one of the executive assistants. I'm not sure if we've received any yet, but I'll follow up.
The superintendent email.
And we did send it out to every single family as well, a comprehensive letter directing them to the website. We have it's really big in red on the front page, you know, trustee area. You click on it and then it has all of the information that we've covered to date with the interactive maps too. But if you have ideas, we'll help them. I mean, we'll also try them.
Trustee Bettencourt has some here.
Is it possible to add on these maps that you provide us a little icon of the different school sites? They're only no on these ones that this is not on my, this is in my hand. The hard copy that you're providing us.
Sure.
Like that you're giving us. So if somebody comes, or even if it does, like, so when it's broken down, you can see on each scenario. Because I know that we had somebody in the public ask the representation, even though we explained to them that we will represent the whole community, but that way we can show, okay, how many school sites are each, which will be broken down. I know that we said there's never been a case where no school was represented.
Yes.
But at least we can show.
If I can direct you to this screen here, I know the question was asked that the. Yes, Cherry, the blue area, that's why I selected this one. It doesn't have a school in that zone, but what you can see is that each of those elementary zones cross into that blue area. So that's another way to look at it. But this Cherry area is the only one that doesn't have an actual location in one of the trusted areas.
So don't get Cherry.
I didn't say that.
No, but because I think, I don't remember who brought that up. We hear this, well, I mean, I think it was actually someone on the board. Don't focus so much on where the schools are located. It's the boundaries, it's how many, looking at your colored zone, if I was one, you would say, wow, that area would be mine, 4 zones touch it. Okay, if you just focus on the school, you're not getting the full picture. You want to look at the zones that you might not get a lot of the zone. One area might be very dense and it's in your zone. That's the best, and the schools give you the perspective and it helps tell you what each of those black outlines are. But I would try to look at the color and then the black outlines and how many are touching it. Some have as many as 4. And that's the better way to, and like you said, the blue, no physical school, but it touches 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zones.
And as the decision maker, that's certain things that at the very end of this process, you all will be able to say, that's why I like this scenario, because it has, for example, it doesn't have a school there, so I don't like that scenario. Or it touches on all of those zones, so I do really like this one. You all will be the decision makers at the end of the day, and we're here to just present you with as many options that comply with the law as possible.
Get this on each one and have that way we
And interact, and the interactive, you can also do that. Turn
I
on.
don't want to touch the interactive because I want to be very transparent.
Sure.
And I'm not putting my address in there. Sure. You can, I was, you can put your address, so I know where to be at. I'm not very impartial.
Any other questions from up here?
Please ask.
Okay, so this is obviously first time.
Yep.
For National School District. So the next meeting, we'll have a second public hearing. Same exact thing to try to capture more people.
Yes.
And then the third one, same thing to try to capture one last try. And on that third one, the board has to make a decision.
That's correct.
At what time do you normally see boards start talking about, oh, that's an interesting one. I'm leaning, like expressing some, I like the blueberry map
That definitely happens at the last one.
at the last one.
That definitely happens at the last one, but we've seen it happening as early as the first one. It can just be a discussion as part of the public hearing, things that you like to see, things that if you like, for example, cherry or grape or lemon, but you want to see some sort of tweak so that we can create another map, that's something else that we can consider. But some districts start the conversation early, some districts or boards play it closer to the vest until the very end where there's an actual action item for debate with adopting the map scenarios.
Actually, I'm gonna ask Brandon this in front of you to be clear too, on the guidelines that we're responsible for. Our goal was that we got the maps made within a week of when we were here last. And then we submitted them to Brandon to review, and then he sent them to you. For that very question, let's say all of a sudden tomorrow, whenever someone wants to make some suggestions, there's gonna be a process, you can get it to Brandon or ourselves. What would be the cutoff to where we could present maybe a new scenario or two
I
for
think
the second one?
I think we just take as much, especially in a scenario like this where we haven't had a ton of feedback, we'll take it as long as we can, but those map scenarios do need to be up a week in advance. So let's say we get one right at that deadline. If it's not there for the second meeting, it will be there for the third.
So that just means we have a week, all goes well. We need about a day for us to make the map scenario, embed it, and then post it if it passes with Brandon's, and obviously you would be the ones posting it. We usually make a PDF, then we could post it we control the interactive web app, change it there. So I just want to be clear on, we have 2 weeks to come back here, or 3 actually, right?
The next one is
3
May
weeks.
14th.
So we have actually this one we actually have a little extra time. So I want to correct that, right? So over the next few weeks, we get feedback from the public or from yourselves, or as you were mentioning, I want to see a scenario right along this one street. Can you make it work? Let us try it. And if we can't, we'll come back and tell you why. But please, yourselves, if no one else is going to be outside of the board making recommendations, make it yourselves, please. The sooner we get more scenarios out there for you to consider, the better.
Trustee Lopez.
Okay, I have a question, suggestion. So just to clarify, looking at the census for Hispanic citizen voting age, so I was just looking at, there's this little area around Plaza Boulevard that's like wavy. So I was wondering why that was. That was because you can't break up that block, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So when you're looking at that census data, I know.
Which page are you looking at?
2020 census data.
This one.
Right there. So right on 18, could you make a line across that? Are you breaking any blocks right there? Or am I understanding your work correctly? Right? Or you can't break like the orange?
No.
No. So like you couldn't. Okay.
Anything that has that gray outline,
Oh, I
That
see.
is the census block.
Okay.
So, and that's why I was talking about out in the ocean. We didn't create those census blocks, so they're out there and they're just, you know.
They're empty.
I see. So you can't make like a straight line on 18 because of those blocks, like the orange
And
ones,
it,
you can't split
if
those.
we can, I mean, if there's one that straddles it, no.
Oh, I see.
But if you can see a gray line all the way through, might be hard to see.
Yeah.
But again,
I
a
see.
suggestion, and then we can look at it and come back and tell you, here's 4 census blocks that straddle that, and which hard to do.
Yeah,
Just, you might not have that information that we do.
it's very Tetris-y.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you want to see, for example,
Yeah,
let's say,
like
if we
that.
wanted Highland Ave to be a dividing line instead of one of these, we can make a scenario where we look at Highland Ave.
Yeah. Well,
Sure.
on Highland, is there an actual block that you cannot go through?
That's hard to
Maybe
do.
go, maybe go
No,
back.
off the top of my head.
Okay.
But that's something that we can take a look at.
If
Okay.
it's a fairly major road, usually you would think they would,
Okay.
you know, not straddle it.
I was gonna make the suggestion when I can actually see it, but I could,
You sure?
Yeah.
I get her, so.
And another thing that we can do is bring in big,
Oh, that'd be good.
big
Yeah.
maps that can be posted around for the next public hearing, if that's something that you would
It would
like to
be
see.
helpful to be
That
able
would
to
be
see the actual streets.
And then members of the public, that sometimes gets them up and looking at the maps as well, so.
And again, just to remember that, you know, for the public, or even yourselves, interactively, you zoom in, all the names pop up. So you'll get to see exactly all the streets that make up the borders or what they're within. So these is kind of hard to make it all pop out, but interactively, you zoom in, you'll see every single
And
street.
even on the PDFs that are available online, they're a little bit higher resolution than the screen captures that I grabbed here. And you can zoom in, and not all of the street names are there, but if you know what the street names are, you can take a better look by just zooming in on the PDFs.
I will confess to being my age and saying that I like the maps that I can actually walk up to and snoop at. That just with schools and I do like the idea that you mentioned of also having, even if it's small tag in a corner, population here, so that people, like, we can see it immediately. Because I honestly just, it, like I said, it's visually deceptive. And so if we can see it quickly, so people so all of us go, oh, that's why that is, and that's fair.
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Bear?
I'm just wondering, it's because of the, oh, okay, we're supposed to. Okay, and hold it, okay. I'm just wondering, because of the question that was asked around streets and different things, if the census block could also be on the ones that have the overlay colors. So that people aren't saying, well, just move this street to this street. Without seeing the census block, you can't see it.
Yeah.
Just one thing I would suggest, the large, maybe the 3-foot by 4-foot type maps you look at, okay? I'm just telling you, on these size are the small maps. And that's why we also don't put a lot of information on there, because it does cover up. So if I put the census blocks all on there, that's less names you'll see on the smaller maps. I could add things like schools and maybe even put the outlines of the boundaries. That it still could be a little cluttering, and the thick outlines of the zones sometimes will cover up streets, just to warn you. But once, and I'm not trying to say we can't do it, we could, but then it might kind of defeat the purpose, because then you won't see a lot of street names. It might be harder to distinguish, but we'll look at it, and if we could see it and read it, then we'll publish, we'll make a map like that as well.
I think what might solve the dilemma that we're having is those big blown up maps. On those big blown up maps, we'll put as much detail as we can, all the school zones, all the schools. You know, we'll look and see if the census map or the census blocks make sense to have on there. That way everyone can take a look and see, pretty much have all of the info for those maps.
All right. Do we have any more questions? Okay, Dr. Brady.
Yes, I have 2 questions. So if, I'm just looking at some of the maps, if I lived on here, if I lived in the purple, all the way up right next to, let's say, the blue. I don't even know what street that is. but let's just say, I lived on that street where that line is drawn. Which block am I in? Does it depend which side of the street I live on? Okay. Easy. But I'm directionally challenged, so no idea which
If your house is
direction.
here, you're red. If your house is here, you're green.
Okay, that's fair. And if I live on the freeway or in the water,
Good luck, good luck.
wide open. Okay, then the second question I have is, I noticed on the interactive maps that you have this, you can put the school, you can put the elementary zones, you can put the district boundary, and you can overlay each of the three different, the grape, the lemon, and the cherry. So you can see like how
they're different.
the overlapping goes and how they're different, how they're similar. Is it possible to add an overlay of the census block to the interactive map?
Yeah, we can do
Okay, then that'd be helpful.
And I think another thing that I'm going to do for the next map hearing is have a slide that has each of the options next to each other. So that we can see, because just looking at this, and then looking at this, you can't, your brain might not remember, but if you have them both on the same slide, it might be easier to see the differences. And then we'll have them up as well.
Any more questions from the dais? All right. As part of this public hearing, members of the public may submit comments on the establishment of voting area boundaries for the new trustee voting areas that will be established as part of the district's transition from an at-large election system to a by-trustee area election system. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to make comments on this matter and this matter only. Do we have any cards?
No.
We do not have cards, so. Yes.
In regards to the big maps, can we have them displayed in the district office for some time so people from the public can come at any given time? If they're not able to obviously be here, they can come in and then have an opportunity to make comments and then be able to have them ready for us at the next board meeting if they're not able to attend. Right.
Put it out on Messenger.
Right, okay. So like if they're not, okay. Hopefully before our next board meeting?
Yeah.
Comment box.
I think that's definitely possible. I'll work with David, and I'll even pick those maps up and bring them here.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Thank you for your time. The public hearing to receive public testimony concerning proposed trustee voting area plans is now closed. All right. At this point, do you want to break? Okay, we would like to take a quick break. Our quick break will bring us back at promptly at 8 o'clock.
Just that you were in.
Right.
I don't know if we're supposed to come, but.
You got a copy?
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw that, yeah, don't worry. I'm going to do my work.
Yeah, we should just. I fucking go out and show things before. It won't screen up.
Yeah.
Because I say no. Yeah. Everything else is.
Because it's not going to change anything.
You wait over here.
It was upsetting, I tried to. That's all right.
I don't know. I didn't hear anything out there.
What?
Out there in the hallway, you know how we can do. I know that.
No, no, you're good.
And then they mail it, so the address will be able to live.
You don't have to just.
You're gonna call them if they all be.
Yes, exactly. But you should be able to see, I had all the great stuff that's repaired.
Figure on it. You're gonna be. You believe your. Okay. The teacher. It's just one time. So it gives you a year long to vacation. Right. So I got my kids on this.
Yes, no, So I got that. In a good way, yeah.
So it's good.
No, we won't.
Yeah. Clarifying.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody realized, but we have pitchers of water, but no cups. I just got a can of it. Okay. Good. Just so you know. I remember when we were young. We wouldn't need a plastic water bag.
Really, we never did the plastic coffee. I was just thinking about that. Water.
I looked it under just in case. First to know if it was safe, and second.
Because we never did that plastic.
All right, thank you.
Since there's no cups here.
Thank you, and we are back. We are on item 8. We are returning to the regularly scheduled program. So, approved consent agenda, routine items of business. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be acted upon in one action by the board. It is understood that the superintendent has recommended approval for these items. There will be no discussion prior to the time the board votes on the motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed and/or removed from the consent agenda. All items approved by the board will be deemed considered in full and adopted as recommended. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Any questions? All right, I have a motion by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda, a second by trustee Lopez. Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Item 9 is general functions. We have already addressed item 9A in our public hearing. Item 9B is to adopt resolution 24-25.27 regarding the absence of board member Ms. Barbara Avalos due to hardship.
Motion to approve. Second.
Do I have any questions? All right. I have a motion to adopt resolution 24-25.27 by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda and a second by trustee Lopez. Please vote.
Item passes 4 yes, 1 recused.
She's coming. She's coming. All right, item 9C is to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held on April 9th, 2025. Do I have a motion? Second. All right, any questions on the minutes? Okay, I have a motion to approve by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda, a second by trustee Lopez. Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
You need to redo the vote, I believe. Oh, you don't have to?
Well, yeah, I don't think you have to. Did you want to abstain since you went in?
Abstain. Okay.
Item passes 4 yes, 1 abstain.
Thank you. The details. Item 9D, to approve a commemorative plaque and garden bench at Olivewood School. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion. Second.
Okay. Dr. Brady.
Yes, so 1 year ago this month, our school district suffered a tragic loss of one of our employees, Miss Mary Stewart from Olivewood School. The staff and parents at the school have approached me to ask if they could honor Mary and her 1 year anniversary by installing a bench and a commemorative plaque in the garden area at the school. They are planning to pay for it. It would be approved by our Maintenance and Operations Department for safety to make sure it doesn't rust or doesn't have any sharp edges that could, be pulled out easily and poked at somebody. But once they've settled on something, they want to do a small ceremony just to honor Mary. So we're asking that you allow that naming convention of the bench and the plaque in Mary's honor in the garden at Olivewood.
Do we have any questions?
It's a nice gesture that they're doing that sort of, just sad. It's unfortunate that we lost it so tragically. I can't believe it's already a year. And I hope that, her family will be able to be there when the ceremony happens. And please make sure that when you know, when all that is taking place. Stewart was a long time teacher at Olivewood. So I don't want to miss that opportunity to be able to fund that. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion to approve the plaque and garden bench in honor of Mary Stewart by trustee Avalos and a second by trustee Vanderpool Castaneda. Please vote. It's not. It's not.
I make a motion.
It's not available. You're doing this.
Right.
You made the first.
I make the motion, yes. The red one.
No, the one that's highlighted, that one.
You did. I don't think your person.
Does it work?
Item passes unanimously. Item 10, educational services. Item 10A is presentation on overview of educational services priorities by Dr. Baird.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm happy to wait if you expect a late night crowd for the Ed Services presentation here. No, I appreciate the opportunity to share with the board some of the work that we've been doing in Ed Services related to departmental operations, special projects, and planning. And really comes back to an original conversation that we had around my role here in the district. The first one was around the position itself, but there were two further questions that we were discussing at the time. Should I be using this? Yes, sorry. There it is. Testing? No? Oh, now it's on. There we go. All right. So it comes back to, there were still two questions that I'm working on in my role. The first one is that orange box, which is what needs to be done right now to support the department in the daily, ongoing, weekly functions, and make sure that things continue to operate in an efficient and effective way. And so I'm fulfilling those assistant superintendent duties, or at least some of them. The green box is what planning needs to take place right now to prepare us for next year. There is a constantly evolving job in Ed Services around coordinating instruction and learning for all of our students, and a lot of that planning is taking place now so that we are prepared when school starts next year that things are in place. And then that final blue box is really around other recommendations that I may make related to the operations within the department, and then also district-wide. So I'm really looking at all three of those roles and spending a lot of time right now on that orange box in terms of what the daily work is, but also starting to take some time around the planning for next year. I think it's important to start as you look at the current status, and this is one of the reasons why I, in my recommendation, felt that you need an assistant superintendent of education services. It's a relatively large department. There are a number of people that work in this department that support the district, and that is because that's the job that we do. We're an educational entity, and we have a number of directors, coordinators, and instructional staff on the certificated side. And on the classified side, we also have an executive director and a number of technical staff that support the work of the district. I might add that many of these are paid for out of restricted budgets, thus saving general fund operations. So I think that the district has done a good job in staffing these positions, both with high quality people and in a pretty effective way around funding these positions. The other area to look at as you look at the department is the complexity of the department. There are a number of internal departments within the department. I've started having smaller meetings with the curriculum instruction folks, also meeting with the student services team, the information technology team, and as Lynette continues to remind me, preschool has its own unique needs and supports. So within the department, there are departments, and so we meet collectively and separately to address the needs there. There are also some special programs within the department that really require a lot of support. ELOP has been something that we've been working on, not just within Ed Services, but also Business Services has been instrumental in helping us to plan for that. The ACES program, the LCAP is in its busy time right now. And then we have federal title programs and lottery funds that are part of the overall structure of educational services. So this just gives you the scope of what's going on a daily basis and where the work of the department is. As we look at those special programs, I just want to point out again that ELOP has been an area of high focus. We know that last year there unfortunately had to return some funds, but this year we are working on a plan, and I think we have a good plan in place. Again, thanks to the team from Business Services working hand in hand with our team to develop an expenditure plan to spend not this year's money, but the prior year's money, which needs to be spent before June 30th and all goods and services delivered by that time. And we feel that that is in place. There are some variables that we are watching closely because some of the funds are related to construction and maintenance costs that, we want to make sure that we are watching that and tracking that closely. The other thing we've done is we have put a pause in place right now on bringing new programs in. There are some really valuable programs out there that we think might be in place to support our students, but we want to have some criteria around what that looks like, rather than just randomly bringing stuff in right now because we felt like we needed to bring more programming in. So we're going to look at this. We're going to do it in a systematic way for our summer programming, and we are going to really look at it for our fall programming as well. And then we're working on creating maybe a more fine-tuned tracking plan for both the goals of the program and then the budgeting, staffing, and keeping that timeline in place. LCAP, as you know, is also in season right now, so we are gathering feedback from our stakeholders. We're reviewing the budgeting and planning process that's in place and working on writing that plan. Fortunately, we're in the middle of a 3-year LCAP plan, so it's not the same as writing a brand new 3-year plan, but there is work to be done. And ultimately, it will come for your review and approval, and then it needs to be approved also by the San Diego County Office of Education. As we move into planning for next year, again, LCAP not only is taking time now, but we are looking at what that may look like for next year in terms of, again, having maybe just a more tightly focused plan around what's in our LCAP plan, what are those goals, what are those timelines, and how are we tracking that work. In curriculum and instruction, we're also looking at a more focused plan in terms of the work that we're doing. We want to make sure, and this has really been loud and clear from our superintendent, that we really do want a really well-defined plan that our teachers and our principals have a clear understanding of. There is professional development tied to that plan. There's instructional materials being purchased now to support that plan, and we have a calendar and budget fully in place. So it doesn't feel like we're trying to address too many things in too short of a time frame. And I think that makes sense all the way around. And then there's general coordination with all of the other departments. Educational services touches every department in the district. Our job is to deliver service to our principals and teachers, and your job is to help us. So, so we are constantly working with our other departments here to make sure that happens. Also in progress right now, and this is the look ahead. I'm kind of starting to narrow in on some themes for the different sub-departments within Ed Services. One is focus within the curriculum instruction department. We are looking at using the learner profile to sort of create that focus, and then from that, start looking at specific pedagogy and instructional areas, so that it doesn't feel like we're trying to do everything, but there may be a couple of things within the pedagogy or the instructional methods that we're focusing on, and definitely certainly focusing in on a content area. Right now, with discussions from instructional staff, including principals, we think that's probably going to be science. We have science materials that are ready to go. They've had some preliminary training, and right now it looks like that would be a great way to really bring that focus into play around professional development, material purchase, and some of the other things. So I'm still interviewing with principals, getting more feedback there. And we are also trying to look at maybe getting a better budget tracking methodology in place within our curriculum and instruction department. On the informational technology side, the themes that are emerging, one was making sure they have the staff to do the work that needs to be done. You have, first of all, you have great employees in all of these departments. I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing happen and the quality of staff. You have a great team in IT as well. I feel like there's some missing pieces there, so we're trying to address what we can provide to them so that they can do the work to make sure that our internet and all of our resources are flowing smoothly. And our executive director there has a technology plan that he and I have been reviewing and working on. And well, he's been working on, I've been looking at. He's doing most of the work there, but it's a really solid technology plan that I think as we bring that into play, we're going to start looking at the housing right now. They're currently in 2 separate locations. We're thinking that maybe that might be centralized. And again, we'll bring this plan to you so you'll see the whole thing. And then the coordination that works with other departments. In student services, some of the themes that are emerging there is really just getting a handle around some of the staffing and budgeting so that we have a clear understanding of the staff that we have in place, that they're in the right place, that we have enough staff, we don't have too much staff, and that we're tracking that budget. Oops, there it is. And that we're tracking that budget closely. Also, we're looking at some service models that might provide better service for students, and pretty excited about looking at that as well. And then the interdepartmental stuff, as I mentioned, we touch everything in Ed Services. So we are working with HR in terms of the process for hiring the assistant superintendent. So just at least coordinating some of the work and some of the look-fors that are coming from our department, principals, and other instructional staff. Looking at the budgeting that goes on, obviously, in business services and how we can help support that work.
negotiations. Many of the articles in negotiations concern the work of Ed Services, so we certainly have a voice there, I think. And then overall district planning. So with that, I feel that, you know, we're well underway on looking at not just now, but next year. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to provide you with a wrap-up report here before too long it goes by. And again, I'm appreciating the time here in National. And I just want to say you've got a great team here. I appreciate the leadership from your superintendent and the other executive cabinet members. And with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. All right. Well, thank you.
Trustee Lopez.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Sorry, I thought someone else before me. Yes, thank you so much again for coming to National and your work that you're doing here. I do have a few questions from different parts of your presentation, so we can start from the top.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Let me just- Then anyone else can jump in if they want to. Yes, going to special program needs, could you talk a little bit about the timeline for this criteria? When would you expect to see this, in May for approval, or what that would look like?
So this is something, and I think it was just that there were so many moving pieces around the budget with ELOP that it just, part of it just frankly felt like we were trying to just bring things in so that we had, you know, more expenditures on the expenditure line, which is not a great way to do programming. So what I've asked Stephen to do, who actually is the coordinator that runs that program, is to meet with our team in business services, who does have a criteria format that they use, and see how we can adapt that. It's not a full RFP process like we would do for a bid, but it might look similar, that we would identify criteria that we're looking for in a partner. For instance, maybe we're looking for national city related businesses first. You know, there might be a scoring system. And from that, and again, taking some models that we have in business right now, we would use that. And I'm not sure if he is right now looking for summer program, but definitely he is looking right now at fall programming. He and I are going to meet later in the week. I think we're meeting on Friday to talk about where he is in that process, and I'll have more after that to add to this. But I've tasked him with getting some samples, bringing the best samples, and then we will meet and talk. And our main partner is the YMCA, so we might want to have some conversation with them as well.
Thank you. And this would come first to approval
It may, I mean, I don't know, I'd have to talk to the superintendent. Some of these things are just business practices that are done within the department. So it may not come to a formal vote of the board, but it will probably come to you in some sort of presentation. So we'll talk. Yeah.
For planning for next year,
Yes.
under curriculum and instruction plan, I know, I think I just would like to see, maybe this could be part of your conversations with our staff, is actual professional development that comes from the curriculum writers themselves to come and do training. I know we provide training for our staff, but it is not the same to have Benchmark come and teach teachers, teach principals how to actually do the work and the material. So I think I would like to see that shift, and I would like to see how you ask about that shift and like actually have those people come in. And present.
So have the curriculum developers come in. Well, we adjust that because the FOSS materials that we have for science, our plan is to bring in people from FOSS to actually do that training. However, I would argue that the other side of that is we probably need to see our own teachers involved in some of delivering that training as well, because ultimately they're going to be the ones that are there for the implementation and ultimate rollout of that program and other programs. So there's a blend, but I agree with you that initially it's really helpful to have the publisher there.
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah.
So absolutely, I think that when you're learning to use the new curriculum, we need to hear it from the people that actually wrote the curriculum. One of our district resource teachers actually is a trainer for Benchmark, and she has done all the ECRI training. So she's been trained by that Benchmark, which is the ECRI version of the early help me out with that, Grace. The science of reading. And so we're using the benchmark materials because that's our adopted curriculum. And she's a trainer for benchmark, but she's actually one of our staff members. And so she's able to do that.
Best of both worlds.
Right. And I guess, and it would be a blend because if, we may be doing professional development on skills or strategies or something that's not curriculum based too. So I think that they'd be and one last thing, we are planning on doing some choice trainings. So some people want to have multiple trainings and they'd like to have it from benchmark or from, I'm using that, or UCI math. And then there's people that might want to do a different type of training, like it just depends on where they are in their roll out their career and how proficient they feel. So we want to do some choice trainings too.
And my next question and recommendations, in terms of our hiring for the next person who will take this role, how involved are you going to be in that process?
And that's going to depend upon the superintendent and the assistant superintendent. Right now, my involvement is gathering feedback from principals, from the meetings I'm having, and from department staff in terms of what they are looking for. I don't know if they will be directly involved in the interviews or not. I serve at the will of the superintendent.
Okay, so that process is actually being led by Dr. Keppen. And so Dr. Keppen will be deciding how involved all of us are. I always start with a paper screening with Dr. Keppen, and then I step out of the entire process until the end. Then we do an executive cabinet so that we can have a lot of voice in the middle of the process. One area we're still fleshing out, this is a very unique role. We're going to be doing a paper screening, as we always do. We'll do a video screening, as we always do. And we'll do a panel screening, executive and board interviews. But one area that we did different for this role when we hired Dr. Kraft is we did an expert interview. And for her, it looked like we had somebody come in and walk classrooms with the candidates to just kind of hear how they sounded as they went through classrooms. So that is one idea that we're exploring. But another is to bring in an expert panel of people who have done that job before, just to validate the expertise of the people that are going into the committee. So Dr. Baird may sit on that because he has been, since we have him here, we don't have to ask him extra, and he has done that role and has been in this role. But it would be early in the process before I moved to the panel.
Any other questions?
And then Dr. Keppen and I are just having a side conversation over here. We have, I think, nearly 20 candidates so far, and many emails from people that said they're either applying, or that people they know are either applying, or they said they have applied. We haven't seen the actual application drop yet. So we anticipate we may have 25 to 30 applicants minimum by the time it closes at the end of the month.
I was just going to share, I'm telling her to share about her letter that went out and asked for those that wanted to be on the panel.
And we have an overwhelming response. So unfortunately, everybody who asked to be on it will not be able to serve. But if we have multiple steps throughout the process, we're trying to involve as many people as possible. And then we'll let everybody know, we'll be looking for as much unbiased as we can. So for example, if you worked closely with somebody that is one of the candidates, you may not make it to the panel if we have other people that don't know the candidates. And that may not be avoidable, but we're going to try our best to be as unbiased as possible.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? All right. Item 11 is Human Resources. 11A, to adopt Resolution 24-25.28 in recognition of Employee Appreciation Month, May 2025.
Move to adopt.
Second. Dr. Keppen.
This is always one of my favorite months, celebrating all of our employees. This year, in the past, what we've done is we've brought a resolution that has identified all three groups, which was certificated, classified, and admin. This year, we are bringing one resolution to just pretty much tell our school sites and our departments that May is the month of celebrating. And so how you do that is, up to the site, because sometimes you're celebrating classified and then you don't know how to include the certificated, or it gets a little bit awkward sometimes when it's like classified or certificate or admin. So we want to celebrate all employees if that's what they're wanting to do. But we've also outlined the weeks that are dedicated to certificated classified. And this year we actually did something different. We added supervisory and confidential, which sometimes tend to be forgotten on the groups, and our administrator. So everybody's included in our resolution.
Any questions? All right, I have a motion to adopt resolution 24-25.28 by trustee Sarmiento and a second by trustee Lopez. Please vote.
Madam President,
All right. Item 11B, to conduct a public hearing for the collective bargaining agreements with the California School Employees Association for the 2024-2025 school year. The board will now hear comments from any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter. As part of this meeting or hearing, we will make a brief statement. Dr. Kevin.
So we have various public hearings today because we are required to submit what's called an AB 1200 to the county, indicating the cost of the agreements with each of the groups. So this agreement is with CSEA. We did settle for the 24-25 school year with CSEA. They're very grateful that we were able to come to a resolution, and members voted, and the costs are attached to this AB 1200. On the next item, which I'll speak to, again, is just the tentative agreement and the articles and the changes in language that we agreed upon. It's 24-25, this school year. Yes. So this settlement, just to clarify, is that we have been negotiating with CSEA this year, and this agreement is for the 24-25 school year. Incomparable. Oh, yes. Thank you. And this is a comparable, so CSEA, 50% of their members are not benefited. So one of the things that they've chosen to do is not increase their benefits cap as NCETA chose to do for the 24-25 school year. If you remember back in December, we did approve a very similar approval for NCETA, who settled with a higher cap in benefits and a 0.75% in salary. Our CSEA partners have decided to put the comparable amount to what NCETA received and to a salary increase of 2.82%. So neither group got more. It's just that one group decided to use the same amount of money in a different way.
We have no speakers, correct? Do members of the board have any comments or questions? All right, that's the case. This hearing is closed. Item 11C is to approve the tentative agreement and memorandum of understanding between the California School Employees Association and its Chapter 206 and the governing board for the 2024-2025 school year. Do I have a motion to approve?
second motion.
Dr. Keppen?
So attached, you will find the articles that we negotiated with our partners with CSEA. And the very first page, they have a new labor rep named Leo Good, and he did this summary, which is really nice, just indicating all the articles and some of the language that was changed. And then if you scroll down even further, you're going to see the actual articles that we agreed upon. So these are the different items that we discussed during negotiations.
Questions? All right, I have a motion to approve the tentative agreement and memorandum of understanding by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda and a second by trustee Avalos. Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Item 11D is to conduct a public hearing for the confidential and supervisory personnel salary and health and welfare benefits increase for the 2024-2025 school year. The hearing is open. The board will now hear comments from any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter. Dr. Kevin.
So this is for an unrepresented group called Confidential and Supervisory. These employees are at the district office. Between the two groups, there's about 15 employees. And they are, we're looking at providing a 2.8% salary schedule for these employees, which are classified in nature but unrepresented. And comparable health and welfare benefits. Sorry, I forgot to say that.
Trustee Lopez.
Yes, thank you. Are these the employees who also receive part of their salary from our Title I funds? Or can you explain a little bit about what their roles
Yes, these are typically administrative, well, confidential employees tend to be, we have an HR specialist in my department. Vanessa and Jocelyn are confidential.
Usually,
Negotiations.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually employees that touch negotiations in some way, so, and they're typically classified employees, so and they're maintaining their own separate groups, so they're not impacting negotiations either in either direction.
But they do come out of the general fund.
for all of these 15 employees?
Yes.
Could you explain in page 3, letter F, what it means for the unrestricted reserves for the compensation increase? What is on page 3?
Of the attachment.
Of the attached.
Yes, that means we're going to be funding those increases using the unrestricted LCFF dollars. That's the state dollars that's used to be the primary portion of our general fund budget.
Are these 15 employees CSEA members? Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
And I can answer that. They cannot, no, they're not CSEA members. They're, because of their nature of their involvement and their access to the information. For example, we might need to make requests for us to be able to conduct negotiations from employees who have the data, who have the information that we need to work with to negotiate. So therefore, they're not members of that CSEA group, so that they're not then, members of the team that is negotiating with us that would then, the information could be passing in both ways. And so they're kept kind of in their own isolated group in that way.
We have 3 unrepresented groups. One is confidential, one is supervisory, one is management. Our supervisory tend to be, they're in management, so to speak, and they do supervise other employees. And supervisory may, what they actually do, supervise CSEA employees or members.
If I'm understanding this correctly, for the salary schedule, the annual cost is a little over 1 million. What are the implications for this for our proposed cuts for next year? That's my final question.
Yes, and that's going to be ongoing as part of our budget adjustments that we need to make. So we'll be proposing a new annual budget in June, and this will have to, by that time, have been accounted for and addressed. So a primary resource for that is going to be unspent funds savings that are identified over the course of this year and, for this year, and then budget adjustments that we may need to make for future years. Say, cuts to different, travel and conference might be a budget that gets cut in some level to help pay for some of these budget adjustments.
Any further questions? All right. So if we have no further comments or questions from the board, we'll close this hearing. Item 11E is to approve an increase in salary and health and welfare benefits for confidential and supervisory personnel for the 24-25 school year. Do I have a motion? Motion to approve. Do you have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay. Dr. Keppen?
Yeah, so the first part is a public hearing related to the AB 1200 and any input from the public. And this one is just the approval of the item.
Any questions from the board? All right. I have a motion to approve by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda and a second by trustee Avalos. Please vote.
Item passes 3 yes, 2 no.
Item 11F is to conduct a public hearing for non-contracted management personnel salary and health and welfare benefits increase for the 2024-2025 school year. This hearing is now open. The board will hear comments from members of the public. We have none.
None.
And as part of this hearing, we will make a brief statement. Dr. Kevin.
This is for non-contracted management personnel, and that includes our principals, our directors, and our coordinators. And this would be, this is the AB 1200 in terms of the cost. The recommendation is for the same salary increase that our NCETA members received at 0.75 with equitable contributions to health and welfare benefits.
Do you have questions? We have mentioned this a number of times, equitable welfare, health and welfare. Can you just touch on that as what we are meaning by that, please?
So it really is to provide the same amount of out-of-pocket costs that our other laborers partners have. So NCETA has a certain rate because of their pool, and CSEA has a certain rate because of their pool. We actually have a reserve for CSEA because they don't utilize the entire cap. So because these two groups are a smaller group, we provide equitable rates for these three classified, supervisory, and non-contracted management.
And the way that occurs is we kind of make a hypothetical pool that includes all employees. So if all employees were in one pool, as is the case in some districts, what would the rates be for all employees? And then these groups, since they're not represented by either labor partner group, receives that amount of health and welfare benefit cap.
Trustee Lopez?
Thank you. Does this include the MTSS coordinators and the executive cabinet?
So executive cabinet are contracted employees. That's why it says non-contracted management, which include all principals, all coordinators, which yes, we have a couple of different kinds of coordinators. We have preschool coordinator, MTSS coordinator. So there's a couple of different ones in there. We have, what's Cece's title? She's a coordinator, but student services. So it includes all coordinators and all directors, which also includes classified directors and certificated directors.
So some of those coordinators, their salaries are funded through restricted funds. So with this increase, would that still come out of those restricted funds or is this general? General?
Yes.
Yes, to which question?
Yes, they would come out of there. They're 50% funded for restricted and 50% unrestricted.
So that any increase comes out of the budget source that they're currently coming out of.
And it seems that, except for maybe a few, sorry everybody, a few odd ducks, you have attempted to align classified jobs with the classified increase and certificated related jobs with a certificated increase.
Yes.
Because there is no union representation for these groups to argue for them.
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Lopez.
Yes, thank you. I just think given where our district is with declining enrollment, with some of our funding potentially decreasing, with this new administration, with potentially having to look at reduction of staff based on the budget for May, I don't see how this proposed increase is beneficial to our budget overall. Not that the people themselves are not, just looking at the numbers. If there is going to be these budget implications down the line in the next couple of years, how is this a wise decision to make at this time?
So would you be suggesting then, because NCETA already received their raise for this year and none of these other groups have, are you suggesting then that they be the only group that got it? Or are you implying that maybe NCETA should not have received that raise as well? I'm just trying to clarify with the budget.
Not looking at our NCTA members, just thinking about these, what is the title of them? The non-management contracted.
What this does is that it completes the cycle for all of our employees. And because NCETA already got their raise, we settled in November and approved in December. They too also affect the budget. So my question is, are you suggesting that none of the employees, including NCETA, should be, we should consider that as something because we already approved them? So if we already approved them, then moving forward, this would essentially block all the other employees for a raise, or are you just suggesting for management? I'm not clear.
Just suggestion for management.
Dr. Brady?
Yeah, so I'd like to just speak to the fact that when you do comparisons from national school district to other school districts, our management is very close to our certificated staff compared to other school districts. And when you have, for example, step and columns that go up for, I don't know how many does certificated go up for and classified. So, no. 26 step and column. So each year, even in hard budget times, our negotiated contracts for certificate and classified go up about 2.5% for step and column. That's not the same for our management. They actually max out. There are some longevity steps, and executive cabinet has 0 step and column. So without anything, those salaries get closer and closer and closer because they're not moving at the same rates. So when we look at pay adjustments, people consider them, they say raises. These are not raises. These are cost of living increases. And so when we are looking at cost of living, all of our employees are experiencing cost of living going up. And so we want to make sure that we maintain the space between all of our employee groups so we can continue to attract and maintain employees to our district so that they'll stay here, they'll feel valued here. And that if somebody does leave, we can attract a new person that, somebody might say, well, why would I become a principal if I'm going to if a teacher on my staff is going to get paid more than me, for example. That could happen if we don't maintain our salary schedules. And without the increased built-in step and column for management, that's really hard to do. And then to not give a cost of living adjustment for everybody who has a cost of living, you know, I feel compelled to advocate for our non-represented employees.
Could I take a shot at this? Pastor Ben?
Yeah, just maybe in a less technical way, the smallest impact on your budget for salary and health benefits is your management and non-represented groups. That's your smallest impact, your smallest footprint. However, I would argue during difficult budget times, during times of stress, they're your most important group. Your principals hold your schools together. Your executive cabinet holds your district together. And if the message that we're trying to get to those groups is you matter less than anyone else in this district, you're not going to hang on to your staff. And you have a really, really good team here.
Trustee Benford Castaneda.
Well, I would disagree with us not giving it across the board, because I'm gonna have to agree with what's just been said. And we're just setting a tone that we have consistently been doing across. Sometimes they've actually, the executive cabinet have actually foregone their raises, or, I mean, I don't want to use a phrase, when we've had some difficult budget times. So for us not to do this, I would have to disagree. This is from last year, and I know that we're going now into a negotiation going forward. I know that we are in, but hard budget times, and this is something that we need to consider for going forward. And I understand that, but we already did our negotiations for last year. We've already provided all of this cost of living adjustment. I will correct myself, for all of our labor partners. And out of good faith, we waited for all of our unrepresented groups to ensure that everyone else was represented before. And we do need to respect everyone else that is left. And it would be a disrespect if we didn't honor those who are also part of our team. And I understand we do have to be responsible fiscally, but also we need to be responsible ensuring that we are honoring everybody who is part of our team, part of our family, and doing the work of our district. And for us to just leave out part of our team is not being respectful. So I disagree with us not honoring and moving forward in part of
Dr. Brady?
As we all know from discussions last fall, when the health and welfare benefits went into effect, they went up considerably, which is why our certificated group decided to take only 0.75 and take a $1,500 increase to the cap to defer those costs month to month. Our supervisory and confidential employees, for example, make similar wages to our classified staff that are at the school sites, and they've been paying out-of-pocket cost for that raise of the health benefits, waiting because we said we would not bring unrepresented groups before we were settled with all of our labor groups, which is why they are on here today. The same is true for management. They're paying out-of-pocket costs. So if they now have to pay out-of-pocket costs for health and welfare benefits, and they are making the same as the employees that they supervise, I don't know why they wouldn't move to San Diego Unified where they get free benefits and they don't have to wait till the end of the year when other employee groups are already negotiating the next year, and they've been still paying out-of-pocket costs for this year. And I think that is something that should be considered, and I thank you for your comments regarding the fairness and the fair treatment of all of our employees.
Trustee Lopez?
Yeah, so just to clarify, what is the percentage for health and welfare benefits that this would be, what are they receiving for this?
The total cost of I was gonna address that. I have to look at it from in terms of health and welfare, but the total cost is $81,000 per year. That's listed in the item, and that equates to about 0.1% of the district budget.
So looking at page 4A and then 4B, can you, could you explain the deficit in parentheses, for the contributions? Is that already in a negative 11 million? In 4B.
Okay, before you answer that, for the percentage of health and welfare, for the management positions, the non-contracted management positions, it is the exact same percentage for salary and percentage for benefits that we gave certificated staff, as President Gates mentioned. So I think it was about 6 or 7% you mentioned that we increased the cap, so it'd be about 6 or 7%. Same exact for the non-contracted management. That was one question. And then the second question, you're going to explain the
4A, 4B, I'm sorry. I'm not seeing 4A and 4B.
Oh, the page?
So.
Page 4A?
In column 1, contributions under total expenditures, it's in parentheses.
Is that a deficit?
Yes.
And that is due to what? The contributions to the health and welfare?
Let me get to the page. In column 1 and on page 4A, on which line?
Going into total contributions,
Operating surplus deficit?
yes. Yeah, right above these two.
Okay, yes. So that is part of that's part of the total of board approved budget. That is the amount that that is our expenditures above our revenues. And again, a lot of that's coming from one-time expenditures, from restricted budgets. We are intentionally spending down because we had several programs expire this year in September that we had to spend money between last July and the end of September. So that's that's comprehensive for the whole year. That's not being created by this proposed change.
So my understanding that what you're saying that amount is we may have received the money last year, so it was accounted for last year, but we're spending it this year, so it wouldn't show as a positive in this.
I'll give an example.
These numbers.
The Learning Recovery Block Grant, for example, or ESSER would be a better one. ESSER was federal money that we received for pandemic interventions. We didn't spend it all in 21, 22, 23. Part of that money got spent after that fact this year even. Learning Recovery Block Grant was state money that was also provided to us to provide those interventions, and we're still able to spend that until the year 2027. So we are spending more than the money we received this year. In the past 2 years, it's been even more accelerated because some of those funds are expiring and they had to be spent out prior to those expiry dates. So we have been the last couple of years spending more in each year than we get for revenues. Now the contribution to that number in this vote would be for that year would be the $81,000 that I referenced that's identified in the item itself.
Do I have any more questions, comments, concerns? All right, we'll close this hearing. Item 11G is to approve an increase in salary and health and welfare benefits for non-contracted management personnel for the 2024-2025 school year. Do I have a motion? Second? Dr. Kevin.
So after the discussion and the public hearing, this is just the item to approve a comparable increase to salary and benefits as our NCETA partners for our non-contracted management groups.
Any other questions? All right, I have a motion to approve by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda and a second by trustee Avalos. Please vote.
Item passes 4 yes, 1 no.
Item 12, business services. Item 12A is to authorize the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services to advertise for warehouse projects. Do I have a motion?
To approve.
Dr. Burke.
You may recall a similar item came forward a couple months ago. Then we had to replace the warehouse freezer. During the architectural study of that item, DSA, the Division of State Architects, identified additional accessibility upgrades that we are to make prior to being able to replace the warehouse freezer. So now it's, rather than piecemealing it, we're going back out as all one project to try to do both as a single project, which is the appropriate business practice.
Questions? All right, I have a motion to authorize by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda and a second by trustee Avalos. Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Item 12B is to approve CT 4282 with Kaizen General Contractor for bid number 24-25-07B for fire alarm upgrades. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Dr. Burke?
Yes, these are fire alarms upgrades that are being made for buildings that they were not coded when the buildings were placed, the portable buildings. And staff has alerted the current administration to those needs, and we are being responsive. We went out to bid. There was one bid that came in, and that is the winning bid there available to make those important safety upgrades.
Any questions? I have a motion to approve CT 4282 by trustee Avalos and a second by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda. Please vote.
Ms. Lopez. Item passes unanimously.
All right, item 12C was pulled. Item 12D, consideration and approval of recommended Citizens Bond Oversight Committee member. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to.
And
Discussion.
yes, ma'am. Was that a second discussion? Or was, I didn't hear who my overlay was.
Who made the motion?
I did. I'm already present.
Okay, all right. So we'll have trustee Lopez with trustee Avalos seconding. All right, with discussion, Dr. Burke.
Yes, we have been advertising for our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee to fulfill memberships all year. We had 2 vacancies. One was because we had a resignation last summer. And then also we had an opening arise in September due to non-participation by a member. So those 2 openings have been there all year. One is addressed in item D here, 12D, another is addressed in item 12E. We, after advertising repeatedly in different ways, including all district communication platforms, including DLAC meeting advertisements in person, these are the 2 people that have surfaced that are willing and want to participate and be a part of this important committee.
Trustee Sarmiento.
I was gonna ask who the people were because they weren't named in the agenda. However, I do see in the backup that we have names. Okay.
Yes,
So I have no question.
and no names were excluded. These are the 2 applicants.
Why weren't they included in the agenda? I know that, but the average citizen doesn't know
I see it in the comments of the agenda it's in the second paragraph of the comments. It gives you just the name of the person and their, but it,
No, but I meant that.
oh, on the,
Oh, okay, but it wasn't in the
We're the
title.
ones who get the short agenda.
Oh, no, they just get them all.
So when the agenda goes out to the public, they get the backup included?
Yeah.
Okay, and that leads to another question. Is there a list of people in the community who receive the agenda on a regular basis who want to be put on the list and get it? There used to be, I don't know if there still is, but yeah.
If
someone
they
had asked me.
requested, they.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Any questions? All right, item 12D, consideration and approval. I have a motion by trustee Lopez and a second by trustee Avalos. Please vote.
Adam passes 4 yes, 1 no.
I put yes.
Correction, Adam passes unanimously.
This thing's never worked for me.
Barbara, you've been.
I'll be on that side to this side to this. It's been the wrong one.
All right. Item 12E, consideration and approval of recommended citizens bond oversight committee member. This is a second member.
Can I interrupt you for a second? I think we have the applicant here.
It's already approved.
I think I just kind of.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I could.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You
Thank
made
you
it
very
to
much.
the bitter end. Yeah.
Sounds like we have a connection here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just kind of, I saw the looking at the eyes.
That's okay. I'm the only one here. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay. Again, 12E, consideration and approval of recommended citizens bond oversight committee member. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Dr. Burke?
yes, I do have one correction on this item. It is a parent representative position, not a parent teacher representative position. That is a transcription error on my behalf, on my part.
So it's the what, the parent?
The parent representative position, not parent teacher.
Yeah, typically, we don't allow one person to fill 2 spots anyway. Any questions? All right. Item 12E, consideration of an approval. I have a motion by trustee Avalos and a second by trustee Bencourt Castaneda. Please vote.
Adam passes unanimously.
All right. Item 13, board cabinet communications. Trustee Lopez.
Yes, thank you. First, I want to say happy National Library Week. Thank you to our librarians and to our city library. Be sure to check them out on 1401 National City Boulevard. I also want to say happy Admin Professional Weeks to Vanessa and Jocelyn. Thank you for your work. And congrats to our 2025 California Green Ribbon Schools. Also want to say thank you to the Central students who came to present and to our principal. Congrats again to Nicole Bing as our Shine volunteer, and welcome Teresa and Jacqueline. I also want to say thank you to Mrs. Benson. I was able to visit her class yesterday for Earth Day. It was really nice to see fifth graders leading the activities for the other students and having them notice how the students were learning, asking questions to them, and just helping them do that exploration was really good to see. And then this was brought up by a community member, so I wanted to share some of the work that's happening around the city. So currently National City, there are short-term rentals within our jurisdiction that are not recorded by the city. And because of that, there have been some activities that are not good for our neighborhoods. One of them is actually next to Central, and we've spoken to Central families, and they've seen, heard things that students have also seen and heard things that happen around that specific area. So just urging families, if you're able to make it out, and speak to your council members, representatives about what's going on, to really urge some sort of policy ordinance around those short-term rentals in that area, specifically around Central. And then for staff, we heard this today as well, but I would love to see actual development, professional development around the puberty curriculum for the Wonder Years. I know last year was our first year and there was some discrepancies, so I would love to see an actual workshop happen before the curriculum is taught so that parents can come in and actually see the videos, all of them in their entirety, and know what is being taught to our students. And I'll actually explain the opt-out system to them to make it accessible, providing the form so they can actually have it in their physical hands to make that decision for themselves as the parents. So I would hope to see this prior to the teaching of the curriculum. And I would also like to see what the process would be like to make our infrastructure better by having a project labor agreement and what that would look like for National School District. And again, I want to reiterate that I believe it's really important for our teachers to have that development from the authors themselves, benchmarks of writing whatever curriculum that we are using, that we want to train our teachers. As a former educator myself, I just know the value of actually getting the information from the actual author to actually put it into my classroom, go back again the next year if I missed something, and then be able to teach it to my fellow team. I just think it's really time that we invest into our students in that learning capacity. Really think about how is the professional development actually impacting our students and not just having professional development to have professional development. So I thank you, staff, for your work. And I just hope that we're able to move in that direction where we really think about the best student outcomes. Thank you.
Trustee Sonia. I concur with most of what was just said. The one item regarding the Wonder Years, I've heard this brought up time and time again. I just had a question about that. Is that something that we are required by law to teach? Because my understanding is that it's required only at the secondary level. So why are we teaching it?
Oh, sorry. The law is clear that it is, The law is clear that it is mandated 7 through 12. However, it is recommended that K through 6 do also teach. So we do provide training for our staff prior to the teaching of the Wonder Years curriculum. In fact, it happened last week. And then training is also done out at the school sites for parents. And parents definitely, have the right to not sign for their kids to participate. And we do have some parents that avail themselves of that. So we feel like we have it pretty well covered, but certainly there's always room for improvement.
And what grades are we taught the curriculum?
It's 5 and 6, right? 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, I gotta tell you, I'm very uncomfortable with the curriculum itself. Not the whole thing, but parts of it that I've got a grandson coming up that I would seriously be concerned with what's being taught to him. And I would strongly suggest that the parents opt out, but I just, for those parents who aren't aware, who don't know they can opt out or sign an item, it's bothersome to me because their kids are bringing this stuff home and then all of a sudden they're going, oh my God, I had no idea. But I don't know what the answer is to that. I would just say, like I said before, I'm not comfortable with the curriculum and I don't feel that it should be taught to our children, period. That's all I have.
I'm going to suggest that all board members see that film. Let us see it, because, otherwise, we're hearing a lot of this, and somebody said that the daughter came home and said the little boy kept staring at me, kept looking at me, and I hate to say this, but they said they were teaching annual sex. What is that? Why are we doing that? I'm totally against it. I think that all board members should be able to see it, and how would we feel if our grandchildren or great-grandchildren are going to see that? That is not, I am totally against it, 100% against it.
Unfortunately, we all approved it.
I understand that we all approved it, but I don't think that I, speaking for myself, had no idea what the movie was about until after it was shown, and many parents were calling me or stopping me at the grocery store and letting me know what their children were seeing. And I blamed myself for not seeing the movie before our children got to see it.
The movies are available to see for all parents, and still, I believe they're online and available right now. I have not reviewed all the curriculum, I'll be honest with you, so I'm not sure what we're talking about in terms of the actuals versus what parents' reactions sometimes are, and so I can assure you that I will take a look at the curriculum and review. I do know that we recommend that certain sections be taught and that others are optional. I have seen that in the training, but I did not get a chance to go through the training. We do have trainers on staff that could update the board if you would like that, or we can give you a summary of it, or we can give you access to the materials to look at.
Can we meet and let the board members see the movies? So that's
Just to be clear, there is no movie
the
that,
film or the presentation.
that is sexual in nature. Yeah, it's not,
There's no how-to.
and and there's no pornography in our classrooms. This is, this curriculum really is technical, it's clinical, and it's to protect children. Some parents don't want those topics being discussed, but you know, sometimes there are predators that will tell children that certain things that they do are not considered sex. And so this is an opportunity in a safe environment to teach students how to protect themselves, how to say no, how to know what good touching and bad touching is, understand reproductive issues, and it is all available for parents to review. Teachers are not allowed to teach outside of that curriculum. All of our teachers had refresh training this year. If you were a new teacher, you got a full day. If you were returning and you wanted a refresh, you got a half a day. There was all day online training if they wanted to do it online training as well. The parents all get a meeting that they can go to by grade level led by our administrators. So if you're we don't teach it at second grade. If you're a fifth grade parent, you can go to the fifth grade meeting and you can review all the materials, and we cannot veer from those materials after they've been, we can't add to it and we can't take away, so parents know what they're allowing their children to view or not view. It is in English and it's in Spanish. The principals are sending all of the information to every single parent in the email as well. So there's an email, there's a parent meeting, all the materials are reviewed. And then the teachers have been trained again this year. So just wanted to make sure people understand that there is, I know that some of the topics that people say are alarming, and you might be led to think like, oh my gosh, we have pornography. They're showing videos of people having sex. That is not happening. We do not have pornography in our schools. It is just, everything is to inform children in a clinical way so that they can make safe decisions. Also, there are something that I was made aware of through this refresh training from Wonder Years is there's a lot of talk about gender and that there's an executive order that there's only 2 genders. But there are actually people in our community that have been born with both genders. They're born with both parts, and they do not, in the hospitals, allow parents to choose anymore. Back 25 years ago, 30 years ago, you could say, well, do you want your child's born with both sets of parts? You can be, they're considered what's called intersex. You can either choose female or you can choose male, and the parents made that determination. And then as the child grew up and their hormones changed, they found that sometimes they chose wrong. And so now parents are not allowed to make that decision. Hospitals will not make that decision. And the children grow up feeling stuck between 2 genders. And then as they get to be an adult, they have to make, or they can make that choice, or they can stay intersex if that's their choice. But sometimes children are teased or they are made to feel unsafe because other children don't understand. And so the purpose of the Wonder Years is to help children understand that lots of changes happen and everybody's body is different. And to make safe decisions for themselves and to be kind and compassionate to those who are different from you. So I would love to sit down with you, look over my shoulder. We can go through all of the folders together. Maybe we can get a principal who's done the parent meeting to help any board member who would like to understand it a little bit more, to understand that some of the fear or some of the what's being said is maybe not accurate, and you maybe if you saw for yourself. Now I know if you have a grandchild and you've actually seen for yourself, that's why we have an opt-out, because it is up to each individual parent. Some parents prefer to choose to do those conversations in the privacy of their own home, and we respect that and we allow that. But for those who would like us to do it, we do offer that as an option as well.
So when can we meet so that I can see the movie?
Yeah, you can come and see all, yeah, you can come and see all the materials, just reach out to Jocelyn and
See what the children are seeing is what I want to see.
yeah, you'll be able to see all the materials. Mhm.
Does anybody
Either
else
Dr.
want
Burke or I mean, Dr. Baird
together
or,
and see what we're showing our children?
absolutely.
And parents. And that's not.
I will always advocate for knowledge versus ignorance, especially when knowledge leads to, that shouldn't be happening to me.
And that's why we as board members need to be knowledgeable about what's being done.
And according to my recent professional doctor insider, who actually is focused on OBGYN, they were talking about precocious puberty. Precocious puberty is the fact that our children are going through it, especially our girls, our female body children, earlier. They are finding 8 and 9 is becoming more and more normal for starting periods. And so if we are not teaching them, or if they're still, parents don't always think about it. I still have students who come to me at 13 years old without tampons and pads because their parents are not purchasing them and it's not a regular conversation that they're having. And they're coming to my classroom to get them from me. That is 4 years too late for them to know what's going on with their bodies and to be able to advocate for themselves. Just is.
And don't forget, we did have a student in 6th grade who was raped and had a baby at their 6th grade promotion, was 9 months pregnant. And at that time, we knew we needed to update our AGE curriculum, and for the safety of all of our students. If it can happen to one of our students, it can happen to more of our students. And nobody even knew that she, including her, that she was pregnant and did not get any prenatal care for that baby until she was 9 months pregnant at her 6th grade promotion. And so I think that was a turning point for our governing board when we started looking at new materials. And I know I can meet with each one of you. I'm happy to make those arrangements, but Dr. Baird and I were just talking that we will also ask Ms. Melanie's to come and do a board presentation. That'll be public on YouTube. Everybody can watch it to give a comprehensive overview of what's being taught in the classrooms.
Trustee Bettencourt Castaneda.
Thank you. I have to say, I did actually sit with the previous curriculum and watched all of the, I wouldn't say it was a video, but it was on DVDs before, and sat through each 4 through 6 presentations. And that was not the Wonder Years, but it was probably very similar to what is being taught, because I did want to familiarize myself as to what was being presented in the classroom, because I was a bit concerned as to what was being presented, because I didn't want it to be too much, and also I wanted to also have the knowledge, because when my child came home, I wanted to know what he was saying to me, and I wanted to be prepared, and to know, basically what what was gonna be expected of me and how, and what I was gonna be, the questions I was gonna be asked. Because we have to be prepared, we have to have the knowledge for our children as well. Because they're gonna be very inquisitive. I don't believe that we're showing X-rated things to our children. I don't think that that's something, or I wanna say, I know we're not. It's not that I don't think, I know we're not. So I know sometimes our parents, we get a little bit excited because they are our children and they're our precious, people, and we will protect them to every extent possible. So when they say, "Oh, mommy, we sit with it," yeah, we do think the worst out of things, and so we do need to open up the doors for our parents to say, "Hey, come to us. Let us, view what we are teaching our children. It is not what we think it is," and be very transparent. Maybe have some town halls to say, "Look, here's an opportunity." Even though we have it available, make it that much more available, because we were in a situation where we had our children in elementary school where we could have been very worried what they were doing. So I can assure you that I would have maybe been worried at some point, but I made myself available to come see and view what they were doing. So I educated myself and I was more proactive. So I wanted to put that out there. It's not the Wonder Years that I've used, but I'm pretty sure it's not that much far off of that. I just made sure that I knew what was out there. So it's not probably X-rated, stuff that's being said out there. So getting off of that, I wanted to thank all of our student presentations. We're gonna go to positive now. Our student superintendent student roundtable for their Earth Day presentation. Always lovely for them to come and present. And thank you for their quiz today. I always like their interactive presentations. Thank you, Dr. Brady, for always being their fierce leader. Thank you, Central students, also for their community school presentation. I love that their first pillar, was it the pillar? Yeah, right, was their mental health. As you know, that's always something that I hone in on. And congratulations to Miss Nicole Bean. While I was at the Hobby with the principal, she was there with her son, and that was her, right? And with her, he had 2 cameos on your presentation. So, and it was nice how her children just kept popping up throughout her presentation here. So congratulations and thank you for all that you do. Welcome to our new NSD employees, and welcome to the family. And thank you, Dr. Baird, for your presentation here tonight. Very detailed, and I don't think we can let you go with all that stuff that you're doing. But thank you for all of your expertise and all the knowledge you bring to us. And again, thank you for coming out of retirement for a little bit. I do want to touch on a couple of things. Public comments that were here tonight is, and I asked staff to please give us an update on the safety concerns at Las Palmas. I want to get it maybe in our confidential memo in regards to the change in the locks and the access and so on, and then yes, get an update on making sure that there are no issues at any of the other school sites. And maybe have a conversation also on the colors of the uniforms. I know that we had our speaker come from Ira Harbison. So I know it's not on our agenda here tonight, but maybe we can have a conversation around that. I know that we've had one before, and we did add a couple colors before. I know, but it's,
Y'all had to wait for so long with kindergartners getting spaghetti on it.
oh, believe me, trust me, I have 3 boys, and I know how I have to deal with that. But if we can just, respect her being out here and having a conversation about the colors. And also, another speaker, Mr. Clapper, coming out and asking about term limits. Is that something that we have a conversation about, or how is that? Okay, so if we can have that conversation, and if that's something that comes on an agenda item, or how can we have that as an action item? Also, I saw an email just come across today, I don't know what time it was, but about the 5K. Unfortunately, we might have a conflict. I don't know how much of any of us participate. The National City Cancer Walk, it actually is the same day. So I'm a little bummed out that it's gonna conflict and I've already committed. But anyways, I don't know how many, I know
I'm not in the council. I don't walk it. I never have, but I don't like to walk.
we know that, but you're part of the committee.
No, I'm not part of the committee. No, I'm not.
Oh, and
The
the,
committee is like,
let's see,
I am in no part of the cancer committee. I feel bad for everybody who has
I
cancer.
thought it was part of the,
I'm not part of the cancer.
OTNC.
That is a different
No, I thought
committee.
OTNC was
It
part
has
of that.
nothing to do with the
Okay.
cancer walk.
Well, I thought OTNC was one of the people that were, okay, my mistake. Anyways, so a lot of National City people will be part of that. And so they start at 8 o'clock in the morning, so anyways, I saw this come across this afternoon, so, but it's gonna be, so, the other thing is, I wanted to get an update on if, on our board clean board training. Do we have a update if all board members have completed that?
Another update.
Yeah. Because I know that we're gonna be going around again. So I know that we're supposed to have completed that before we can be in school sites. And I know we have graduation coming around and all that. And I have that completed. And I just wanted to with my final is, I just wanted to express my condolences again, Robert, for your loss, and wanted to say, I was glad that I was able to be there at your husband's mass. It was a very beautiful mass, and I think that I attend.
Thank you. Trustee Avalos. First of all, I want to say, the superintendent's roundtable, the children were magnificent. They're doing a great job. That's really great. And the central school, their teachers, they're letting them do so many things that they should be doing around the community, and their learning is something that I didn't have way back when I was growing up. But right here, they've been able to get involved with a lot of organizations, a lot of things that they should be knowing. And like I said, maybe someday they'll be sitting here, and hopefully they don't leave National City, and everything they've learned, they'll keep it here. So I'm very proud of the children, and also very proud of our educators, our teachers that are doing a great job, and informing them in so many things that is happening that they should be so well aware of, which I think is great. And of course, Mr. Blair, you did a great job, and I learned a lot. Took a lot of notes, and thank you for helping us out at a time of need.
I'm not doing the test like the students did, but I chose it.
And everybody else has said, I don't want to repeat everything all over again. So thank you so much for your condolences. Thank you for the nice flowers that you sent. And thank you very much in understanding why I couldn't be here. Thank you. Dr. Burke.
Yes, I'd like to thank the board for their votes on the AB 1200 tonight. That wraps up negotiations for all labor groups, all labor partners for the year. CSEA closed tonight, and that is our largest group. That is our largest employee group. The 3-year, I want to point out, it is wise for the board to be aware of the commitments that we're making. And for CSEA, the 3-year commitment equates to about $1.3 million over the 3-year period. For NCETA as our second largest labor group, and the 3-year commitment for that group is $1.9 million. A lot of that, as we talked about earlier, is on benefits. They chose to take a lot of their growth on benefits. So that's about $1.9 million for that group. $244,000 for non-contract management, and our confidential supervisory is about $190,000. So again, thank you for your votes. It's important that we do maintain the best here in National School District in all classes. I also want to address that we do take safety very, very seriously. We had active assailant drills annually, or even multiple times per year. All employees are aware of which gates are egress gates. We went through a study a couple of years ago prior to my being with the district, but it was led by our partners at SGPA Architecture. Following that architectural review, panic bars were added to the gates that were determined to be safe, appropriate egresses. So we wouldn't want an egress, for example, that led to a major road that didn't have a sidewalk, and then all of a sudden students are pouring out into that road. We wouldn't want an egress that led to a steep slope or something that was unmanageable for groups of people to be going out. So again, the safe exit points on our campuses were fitted with panic bars and identified to all staff at that time as the appropriate exit points. And that has been repeated by myself. I've had notifications go out to staff saying that we must use panic bars and when can our gates and fences be accessed. I also would like to mention our police department and fire department partners have been great about walking our facilities and working with our safety team as they presented here just weeks ago to advise our safety planning and to help approve our safety plans with us to make sure that our students and employees are safe on campus. And last but not least, we have the school resource officers who are members of NCPD, and they're consistently on campus and in communication with all employee groups and our administration to help keep our students, staff, and community safe. And we also do safety training and flipbooks. We have flipbooks all throughout all of our campuses. And safety training happens first. Matter of fact, I tried to get another training ahead of the safety training, and there was no budging the safety training. It goes first in National School District. It is our first meeting of the year. Yes, the flipbooks actually have responses to all emergency types, including should we need to exit campuses. Those exit points are identified on the flipbooks that are distributed throughout all classrooms in the district and in common areas.
Dr. Kevin.
I too want to say happy Administrative Professionals Day. It was really nice seeing all the celebrations throughout the district. So thank you for all the administrative professionals for what you do every day. Thank you. Today we participated in a spring job fair with the Chamber of Commerce here in National City, and we'll be participating on Saturday also with the county office job fair at Liberty Station. So I just want to mention that. Congratulations to all the students and the roundtable and central students for their presentations. And congratulations to Nicole Bing for being a Shine Volunteer. I want to welcome the new employees. And then just to clarify, I just wanted our NCETA labor partners to know that on April 15th, we did have an agreement to continue negotiations on April 30th. And I'm not sure that they're aware of that, but we did commit to continuing negotiations on April 30th. So, Dr. Baird.
All right. Well, you've already heard a lot from me, so I'll try to keep it brief. It's Earth Week, and yesterday was Earth Day. I'm going to save most of that for the superintendent. No. It's your thing because you put a lot of investment in. And I will say what she's going to tell you about. She's the only superintendent of the districts that came together that directly worked and supported and had students working directly with her throughout the process. So really impressed with that.
There's other information around Green Ribbon that I will let the superintendent share. However, if she doesn't say it all, I'm gonna jump in after. Let me just close with, I've been focused a lot the last couple of weeks on principals, and I think that's a really important position in our district, particularly, well, at all times of the year, but right now they're doing an awful lot, and they've got a lot going on. So our goals from within Ed Services are to reduce our demands on principals as much as we can, to increase our supports, to listen and get input from them in terms of the work that we're doing. And a lot of that's happening, not just the interviews that I'm doing with them, but we had some training scheduled that we reduced to 1 day that would have been 5. We are actively working with them to get information about the instructional materials and computer programs that we use in the district. So they've been working with their staffs and then coming back and sharing that with us. And that is really informing the purchasing that we're doing. And then we met with them Monday, and actually they're working with Angela on goals. They're working with Maritza in terms of staffing and having some direct input into that. And then working with me, talking about what they'd like to see in terms of supports and staffing for from our department to support them for next year and what that might look like.
And facilities.
Yeah, and facilities and summer projects also was part of that conversation. So we're really trying to work with them, listen to them, and get their input because they are directly working within the schools where all of this happens. So thank you.
Dr. Brady.
Well, I'll start with a very happy pre-Staff Appreciation Month coming up here in May. And as you know, each year we buy a token from the board and executive cabinet and send it to all staff to let people know how much we appreciate them. So all of our staff during the month of May will be receiving this with a nice note of appreciation from the governing board and executive cabinet. Yeah. So now they all see they're staying on. I do want to say happy Earth Day, and I just thank the Student Roundtable for doing such a great job describing what happened at the Fleet Science Center yesterday. Today at about 1:30, the state of California announced a National School District as a gold level honoree as a Green Ribbon School District. And I believe we were the only district in the gold category, so.
There were actually 2 in the state, but
Only in San Diego.
you were the only one in Southern California, and you were the only gold outside of Encinitas, which was Green Achiever, to achieve that status in San Diego County.
So we're very excited. We'll be doing some press release. We're waiting for the big press release that goes out from the state of California. And we'll work on ours and some new banners. I think Jocelyn has already worked on the banners, and we're getting those printed so they can hang in all of our schools. But we have 3 employees that will be going up to receive the award. I believe it's up in San Mateo. And that's going to be on the April 30th. And then they'll come back and do a presentation at the governing board and present it to executive cabinet and the board. And that's going to be Jennifer Sandoval, who does our green purchasing and was instrumental in changing our practices in that area, which increased our scores considerably. Lynette Castaneda, who has been doing the programming to continue to bring sustainability in front of our students and looking at that through our science adoption. And then, of course, David Castillo and all the work that he's been doing and M&O has been doing around our facilities and our fields that have increased our score there as well. So we're excited for them to go up and receive the recognition that they deserve and then to bring it down as a recognition for the school district. I do want to let the board know that 2 Saturdays ago, not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before, Palmer Way staff and some district staff collaborated with Parent Heart Watch and the Eric Padre Save a Life Foundation to create a cardiac emergency response plan drill video. That video is going live this week. They actually had a videographer fly down from Washington, and they had somebody fly in from Georgia free of cost to us, but we did participate with our people, so we will be featured in that video. And now that the state of California requires that every school district has a cardiac emergency response plan, a plan is only good if you know how to practice it. And when we were becoming the first elementary heart safe district in the nation, we were looking at how do we practice our cardiac emergency response drills. And that was an area we found that there weren't very many examples out there. In fact, there were two, and one of them was 30 minutes long. And we said it's really hard for a staff meeting to show a 30-minute video. So we wanted to create with this group something that was usable, and something that can be shown regularly throughout a school year, just to remind people of what to do in an emergency. And so I'll be sharing that in my upcoming memo. We'll be sharing it with all of our staff, and we anticipate that it'll be something that will be shown nationwide to schools that are looking to implement their cardiac emergency response plan. And then I'd just like to end with condolences again to Barbara. We're here for you for whatever you need in this difficult time. And a very happy admin professional day to Jocelyn, Vanessa, and all of our admins across the district.
I forgot to say something. I'm sorry, Alma. But anyway, I did go to the Paradise Creek where Christina Benson had this great group of children, and they were able to go get little worms right in the back. I said, where'd you get all these little worms? And they were right in the back, what we used to call the flats. Because I used to live across the street from that school. And the little kids were like little worms all over, and they had like a little cup with a magnifying that you could see the worms. And how do you decompose? And people were cleaning and picking up. My cousin Peggy was there. She was a teacher here, Mrs. Gutshot, and her sister Matilda, also my other cousin, was there. And they were all pulling weeds and cleaning, and the children were shoveling with a shovel, picking up and cleaning. And I am so proud of Christina Benson, of everything that she has done. And I believe she said something about she had started something like that. She was one of the first ones that started something. I think she should be recognized that it's still going on, because she's done a great job. I mean, really, she had all kinds of children were there. And they showed a bucket full of awful food, old stuff that goes into the water. But how do you clean it up, right? I mean, it's going to be like forever. There's no way that she can even build a brick wall. How far down deep is the ocean? Or anything they can. But thank you, Christina Benson, for everything that she did, and everybody that was there that helped. I didn't touch the little bug, but they did. You know, a little worm. I mean, little worms is what they were. And I forgot to say that in my comment. Okay. Anyway, thank you.
What I heard from that is that Ms. Benson's class's parents should be aware that their children do know how to do chores, and apparently gross ones. So I would like to thank the roundtable for letting me peek in a couple weeks ago when I was able to be here in the district, and some of the district office personnel, but also Palmer Way and Otis. We know that every time that we come to visit, that it's a real gift to us. So thank you for allowing us to come and invade your spaces and your classes and ask the questions that we're all curious about. And I got to play multiplication bingo. That was awesome. I lost bingo, but that's okay. Did you do your best? No, I would try. No. I think I'm now tripling down on, the review of exit paths is important. This is always my thing. We always do our drills to one place. and that's not life. I would love for us to figure out how to do multiple alternate paths. It needs to be that we practice that if the office, Lord forbid, but the office is on fire, where do you go? That if the back building is the building that flames are coming out of, you don't go stand next to that one. So where else do you go if that's where we always bring the kids to? When I think about some of our school sites, when I think about Las Palmas, you know, there's the street out on the 6th grade side, the library side. There's a there's a gate out on, but that's actually in front of it's through the parking lot. Well, where do we practice for that? Where do we practice if you can't get past? How are we making sure that not only our students, well, not only our teachers, but our students would know and not just go to the same old place that might be the worst place for them to be. So there should be an A, B, C, D 27 down the road on this is what we do. Another thing that I found out was that we had that earthquake, and I was glad to hear for my school responded really, really well. Kids were under right away. But you know what we didn't know that we didn't think to do? We didn't get out of the buildings afterwards. Because we went, I realized I've never talked about that. The fact that if you actually have an earthquake, not the earthquake drill, that you're talking about structural integrity of a building. And I know, I heard that we did. But those things, like the what is it in real life practices that we need to include. We need to think through it to the end so that we practice it to the end. And so I would encourage that we take a look. Maybe exit paths are okay. I mean, honestly, backside of Las Palmas is a no-go because of where it leads to, the backside. But we've got side exits, so what does that mean? So, so what can we do to make it better and to better equip our students, our families, anyway, so that's a thing for me as well. And my last thought is this: we are getting closer and closer to testing that is coming. And so I would like to encourage all students, go to sleep when you're supposed to. Don't have your Chromebook with you in bed. Make sure you eat breakfast, get a good night's sleep. Parents, do what you can, and adults, do what you can to encourage your kids with that. And teachers, you're on our minds as you lead your students through this. It's always a thing. And so we want to encourage you that we know that all the hard work that you have been putting in is not just about these few days, but about what you've been doing all year. But we're excited because our kids get to show off what they know. And that is it for me. So we are adjourned.